Hey everybody, let's do a show. Hello everybody, welcome to the weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host Chris, and you may see me fiddling with something here. Well, I'm about to put on some headphones because I've lined up a last minute special guest. So I thought we'd start just a couple minutes early so that he isn't waiting. There's a clue. Think of how many women and non-binary people are out there that I could have on, but I did say he, and I'm being accurate with that. We're about to have a special guest. Let me just put in my headphones so that I can hear him. Very professional. Tell you what, I'll give you a double salute since you're being patient and waiting for that. No, it is not Rob Liefeld. Good guesses. Good guesses. Let me add a gentleman who probably doesn't need any explanation if you watch comic YouTube stuff, but I'll give him a little bit of an intro anyway. It's your friend and mine. It's Sal, the host of Comic Pop Returns, Comic Pop Christmas Yet to Come. Can you hear me okay, Sal?
I can. You sound great. How about
You sound good
me?
too.
Am I coming through okay?
Absolutely it is,
Excellent.
buddy.
Excellent.
I thought it would be fun to just do a mini crossover.
Why not? Yeah,
why not?
people love those. At least they were very popular like 30 years ago. Why not bring them back?
Crossovers in comics were popular 30 years ago. Not so much
Exactly.
on YouTube. Very
No.
few crossovers 30 years ago on YouTube.
It's true. Yeah.
Offensively few.
It's true.
Yeah, that's getting a nice little pop, if you will. You probably
Hey.
used that joke a million times. I'm sorry.
Only in the last couple of minutes.
I'm pounding some coffee to get jazzed up and stuff.
Yeah.
It's later where you are. How is your bunker in New Jersey holding up after the convention?
It's great. You know, there's a lot of like leftover stuff from our convention. You know, we when we go, we like pack up the bags and we bring all this stuff, like equipment, just in the event we might want to shoot something there or bring something home. And so what we'll do is we'll just load up things and and then ferry it back and forth between the city and Jersey. And then when it all wraps up, it's just all over the place. Like we got posters and freebies and statues and toys and just everything. All over the place.
New York Comic Con is I keep calling it a spectacle. It is unlike most other comic shows. I mean, you can compare it to San Diego, maybe something like MegaCon.
Yeah.
But it's definitely bigger than, say, your average. Do they even still call them Wizard Worlds? But things like that.
I think they're over. I think Wizard World's done. They used to be.
They rebranded is what they did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like Baltimore Comic Con and Wicked Con in Boston, things like that. Like they're good conventions. I'm not saying they're not.
No,
New York is on this scale that's borderline offensive. How much it buys for your attention?
Yes,
but we through all that chaos, we did get to meet up and hang out a little bit on Saturday. So thank you for making some time.
No, thank you, man. You're the one who I touched base because I was like, I saw you were like, well, you and I have been going to New York Comic Con for almost the same amount of time.
I've gone since the first one.
Yeah, same here. So like we've been going to the same Comic Con, like ships in the night, never interacted, never crossed paths until maybe I guess last year was the first time we ever actually like met in person.
In person, it was. Yeah,
so,
that was fun.
Yeah.
And it is kind of quick because I tend to just go for one day so far.
Yeah.
You're a little closer, so you've been like doing like, the 4-day pro thing. And I'm starting to get a little jealous because I used to do stuff like that early on. And there's so many people to say hello to that I say hello to them, but I don't necessarily get the same quality time that I'm pretty sure you got a little bit more than that. I brought you on. Some of it's just so that you could maybe plug some of the stuff that you've got coming up on your show on Comic Pop, because I did hear that you lined up or maybe even already did some interviews for the show.
We did 2 interviews at the show, and we confirmed an interview that we wanted to drop in during Off the Rack, our sister show to Pros and Cons, where what I had noticed, and you can attest to this as well, is that creator interviews some of the most fun and informative stuff we could do, and it's also not the most popular thing we can do. And
I
so,
know it's
you know,
frustrating, isn't it? Because to me, I love doing them. I
yeah,
love doing them. But if I did just them, it tanks the channel. Like there's an
100%.
algorithm out there, and it's a little frustrating that you have to balance that. So we balance what we like versus what YouTube likes.
We did one for them, one for me, one for them, one for me, and
More like 20 for them, one for me. But yeah,
that's very true, actually. Yeah, but we find our way around it, and sometimes we got to play the game, like we have we'll give it a sexy title, or and even then, those days of kind of gaming it doesn't really work as well.
Or trick Tom King into revealing something way before he was allowed to, and end up going viral.
I have no idea what you're talking about. If you go look at that video, I won't see anything of any virality associated with it. There might be a clip or two that exists that might have been doctored. I couldn't confirm or deny that even is real.
No, that was
I can
funny.
say. Yeah, no, that was.
Who'd you line up this time?
We got Ben Percy's going to come on off the rack to chat about Ghost Rider and X-Men and more importantly Predator versus Wolverine.
That was cool. That was cool. I haven't been reading Ghost Rider, but I did like a quick little live stream talking about what my favorite horror comics of this year were, and a lot of people said Ben Percy's Ghost Rider should have been one that I included. You must be reading that. Is it good?
It is good. My wife is an avid Ghost Rider fan,
Tiffany
and she loves Ghost Rider. I'll occasionally read over her shoulder, and I'll key into it from her insight. But from what I understand, and what Ben Percy gleaned or gave to us during the show, was that he really loves like just the elemental horror angle of Ghost Rider. Like when we were growing up, you and I reading Howard Mackey's Ghost Rider, sure, there was like a spirituality element to it, but it's mostly about like how rad Denny Ketch looked and like this kind of faux spirituality, where most of it just completely off the top of his head, like enchanted gas caps and secret sisters. It was just like melodrama, but with a kind of like special coat of paint, a magical coat of paint.
Totally.
Percy really wants to like get into the horror angle of a man whose flesh melts off of his face, revealing a flaming skull.
Oh, some body horror.
Yeah. He really not as much as like you'd see in like Immortal Hulk. But certainly, the idea of the horror and like the world he comes from, that Johnny isn't just like, oh, woe is me, I made a bad deal. He's not just Spawn in a motorcycle jacket. He is like a part of this, horror world that you never really that is it's unprofitable to indulge in at Marvel, too often. So but he's really excited about that. He loves that angle of it. So that's why I'm excited to talk about that. Yeah, Ben Percy is coming by. We shot Tiffany interviewed G. Willow Wilson.
Oh, great.
To chat a little bit about it. She's so great. Such a lovely person.
I got to meet her at like an Emerald City Comic-Con. Actually, now that I think of it, I don't think it was this past year. I think it was the year before. But what a lovely person.
Yes.
She was just really generous with her time with me. She I didn't try to play like, do you know who I am? I don't do that. But like, and so I don't think she did, and that's fine. She's still like, she gave me a free comic. She was like, oh, you need to read this. And
that's awesome.
But that's great. So Tiffany sat down with G. Willow Wilson.
Yeah. We it was funny. We were reached out to by IDW, who was trying out some new stuff, and so G. Willow Wilson has a book over there that she wanted to kind of talk about, and because they know the nature of it, like we were able to sneak in a quick chat about Ms. Marvel and the movie and stuff.
Good.
So
that worked out. That's awesome.
Very
cool.
And I got to chat with and I got to chat in that same vein. I got to talk with Scott Snyder about his upcoming new Dark Spaces.
Okay.
It's a series. The Dark Spaces concept is like that's the brand, Dark Spaces, and then we got like books like Wildfire, and we're getting another one coming up soon. We have Good Deeds, and we have a new one coming up called Dungeon. And that one is really exciting because, like, Scott is no stranger to horror and no stranger to thrillers and no stranger to the kind of supernatural horror that we come to expect from him. But Dungeon is like realistic horror. Like the stuff
Okay.
that happens in there, there's no
Okay.
ghosts, there's no
Yeah.
demons. It's just people, and it's just how scary and messed up we can be. So
That's great.
we talk
Yeah,
about that.
Scott's really been impressing me. I like horror probably a little bit more than you, I think,
Certainly.
based
Oh,
on what you were
easily.
just talking about tonight in your show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would tell people like Night of the Ghoul was fantastic,
Yeah, it was.
Francesco Francavilla, and then also I still need to pick it up, but Canary looks very interesting. For my money, Dan Panosian doesn't draw enough comics.
Agreed.
So anyway, that's great, man. I mean,
Thank
Scott Snyder. Well, he had that whole Arcbound thing to talk about this week.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So did you like get I don't know, did Tom Hardy swing by and like give you a piggyback ride or anything
Surprisingly
like that?
enough, no, we did not have that interaction. I didn't even know that was like a thing. Like I'm
Bullshit.
so unplugged from like the announcements and stuff. Like we did a little breakdown of like what was announced at the Marvel Next Big Thing panel.
Yeah.
I was surprised by things that were announced in that panel today because of how unplugged I am from what like was announced at certain panels. And so when it comes to the Tom Hardy thing, like I heard he was going to be there. Like I heard he was there. Like when I was already at the show, I think Friday, they were like, "Oh, Tom Hardy is walking around and they're going to do this thing." And there's a Scott Snyder book. And I think I saw it because of a tweet. That's how I knew about it. Because Scott said, "Check out this." And I was like, "Oh, good. Okay, that's cool." Tom Hardy's walking around. At least that'll give him something to talk about. Because I know that you probably know just as well as I do that at New York Comic Con, you know, given the SAG strike, any big name like magnet actors,
they can't be talking about their current project.
Can't talk about Star Wars at all. Like it, not even stuff that had happened. You know, so it was really
they had
rare.
a few Guardians of the Galaxy people because that stuff's all in the past, like sort of like actively promoting it supposedly.
Right.
So you can do things like that. There's some strange rules if you don't know, guys. The writer's strike is over, so some TV shows are back. Actors are still striking. Hopefully that wraps up soon. But yeah, they can't promote like, you know, you know what was weird? Did you see that who's the guy that plays Daredevil / Matt Murdock?
Charlie Cox. I missed that too. I know.
Did you see him at like what he was wearing at Comic-Con?
I saw it. Yeah, I saw the
picture. A little creepy, folks. He was dressed up like Bluey, but like Bluey, the Australian cartoon dog. He just had his face like painted all blue, and he was walking around pretty much not recognized.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed I didn't even get a chance to not recognize him, but I heard he was there. I love that. I love seeing like when Bryan Cranston went wearing a Bryan Cranston mask.
Clever.
It's just so fun. Yeah, no, that's so cool.
So what were some highlights for you, buddy? Like,
oh man,
just seeing people.
Well, obviously bumping into you and getting to hang out for like a good half hour or more was really sweet.
That is a treat for anyone.
Easily. And but overall, I mean, like I have some stuff I really can't talk about that was really cool that I got to do. But I can say the highlight.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, exactly. But I can say that like the highlight of any convention that I've ever been to since getting this lucky job is running to anyone from the chat and the audience.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time it happens, it's like it's the first time it's happened. And
it's such a treat.
It is
because we're people that don't get like most of the time, like do not get recognized.
We can go to the grocery store, we can go to the mall, like we're okay.
Yes.
But
there's like one time where all of a sudden we get to be little bit celebrities, and that's when you go to a comic convention.
Yeah.
It's
true.
It's so flattering. It means so much, by the way, folks, when you like said hello.
Yeah.
You really made my weekend, and you made me look cool in front of my friends.
Right? No, it's true. Especially like my team, when we go, like they're so used to it. Not that they're used to like bumping into fans or audience members, but more that they're not impressed, you know, when someone comes up to me and says hi. But if we ever bring any like new people in, you know, any like, you know, relatives or anything, they go like, I would love to, and I can't do it because my folks they wouldn't even want to do the trip, much less be at the show. But if they could see it, they'd be like, wow, people seem to know who you are. And I'd be like, I told you, it's real. I'm not just making it up.
Well, real quick, you're in Jersey, not super far, but like, give me an idea, because you told me that you've always driven in each day.
Yeah,
like,
it's
about how long does that take, and about what time are you getting up in the morning?
It depends on what I need to do. You know, the show starts at 10. I can probably get in because depending on what pass we have. around 10 or before, a little bit before, like maybe 9:30. Like I know that when I was writing for when I was doing in-person interviews at CBR last year,
Mm.
because I was doing
Oh,
those,
yeah.
some of them were early. Like some of those
Yeah.
were like 9:30, and the show doesn't open until 10. So I had to be there at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. My commute during the week is about an hour 15 going
Okay.
in because of the traffic.
Okay.
But over the weekend, it could be anywhere between 39 and 47 minutes,
That's pretty good, I guess.
which is not bad.
That
And that's
really isn't.
well, especially because when it's never just me. You know, it's me and my wife Tiffany. It's me and my wife
My
Tiffany
wife.
and our team. It's like, yeah, my wife. It's either like two. It's anywhere between 2 and 5 people.
That's
So
cool.
if we all get in the car, it makes so much more financial sense for us all to drive in and then park one car, pay that fee, and then just drive it back. The other thing is, I don't want to have to deal with the bus. Living in the shadow of New York City, I've had my fair share of sprinting to the bus and dealing with what time to get to the bus. And I don't want that stress ever again in my life. So now I can just saunter over to the parking garage, get in the car, drive home. You know, sure, there's going to be traffic, but there's going to be traffic whether I had the bus or not. So in this case, I get the luxury of leaving whenever I want. Because the other nature of Comic-Con is that you never know who you're going to run into. You never know who's going to know you, or if you know somebody, you know, intimately that you never really have met, that will suddenly become an evening. You know, you're like, oh, where you headed? Well, I'm parked over there. And they're like, well, I'm going to dinner. And it's like, well, maybe we'll all go to dinner now, or maybe we'll get drinks, or maybe we'll do this, that, and the other thing. And I like having
glad
that
you had that
openness.
flexibility.
Exactly. Yeah. You need that flexibility. Nice. It's key. Even if you're just going as an attendee, you know, you never know what kind of friends you're going to make on the floor. And then suddenly it becomes a thing, you know?
And there's always some sort of like meetups or something. I think, you know, if I did multiple days, maybe I'd like host a meetup, but sometimes I worry like my channel isn't like quite enough. Maybe we need
people
to
would go
on
trust
something
me.
like that. I don't know.
No. You're in the right bracket. People would show up. Like yeah.
Thank you, buddy. I know you. I've seen like last year. You know, you guys like were able to share a booth with what was it?
Joe
the school, the Kubert school.
Yeah, the
Kubert
school.
And that was nice. You guys had a good size line every time I walked by. You really did. So that was nice.
Yeah,
it's good to get that recognition. You put in hard work, man. You really do. I know that.
Thank you. Well, we sold some stuff too. Like that was a nice opportunity for us to like, because we don't have like an online store, so we have like merchandise that just sits because we make it. But we don't have an outlet. So that was a nice opportunity to be like, hey, did you ever want a poster or a hat? We have those here.
See, that would be fun because I've got a little bit of merch and I've done a few comics and you know I did, you know, not much, but for instance, I got to do the Vampirella cover. It's possible I might be doing something for Radiant Black this year, but so
you want to have those like did you know a plethora of creators? Did any like
so do you?
It's true, and I get one of the questions they asked me a lot this year was, where's your booth? Like, where's your table?
Oh,
did people ask you, were they bugging you about the table too? Because like
except a bunch of people also just sort of like did know because I put it out there. Like I'm just there as it like for a day. I put it out there. But because I'm like, but I wonder, not a cover, Beowulf, not a cover.
But I know that you would you having books of your own and certainly stuff you've created and stuff that you've worked on, having a table, that's a great opportunity.
That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? I've done it before, like when I got like, you know, before I ever had a YouTube show, I would do like, and we are talking indie comics, folks, but like one of them was nominated for an Eisner, so that's something that like people I love. By the way, do you ever love getting to sort of shut down a hater in your chat just because you can like verifiably prove them wrong about like, you know, a piece of comic book lore or something like that?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
And I love like when people are like, this guy, if he knew so much, he'd make comics. And I'd be like, well, I did get like, I wasn't an artist in an Eisner nominated book. That's not nothing.
Right.
It's not nothing.
Yeah, that actually completely invalidates whatever you were just saying.
I'm not Daniel Warren Johnson or something, but still.
Yeah, hey, look, but Nick, look at that, Nick Barucci. Hey,
he's such a nice guy. Do you know Nick much?
I don't know Nick. Have we ever met in person? But Nick is he's a very lovely man and is happy to be in. We
you
see
guys
in our
are
chat
both
as well.
Jersey guys.
Yes,
you
but
talk more to him.
He's way south. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it's like a 2-hour drive, which I'll have. I'll make, by the way, if you ever want
to. Nick, I want to read this. Let me think.
Yeah.
It says, "Got to meet Chris, and it was one of the highlights of the show." That's kind of you, Nick. Especially with all the correspondence and work we've done together. I'm so happy to have met face to face. Me too, man. Me too. Everyone, please hit that thumbs up. Oh, thank you. Yes, certainly appreciate that. Means a lot.
It's true.
We have not met yet. Hopefully one day we should. Yeah, you should. Nick had some big news, but I've got a whole news section that I'm going to get to.
Yes.
I just wanted to, give a few minutes to say hello because we got to hang out, but it was kind of brief. I'd love to hang out longer, Sal. I really would.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, especially because you make the trip. You're not like from here. You don't live around here, so it's not like it's an easy. As long as you're here, we might as well like abscond with you, bring you to the studio, we'll hang out, and we'll do the whole thing. We'll make you eat like pizza. It'll be a great time. We'll live like Ninja Turtles for a good full day. It'll be great.
Stomp around in the sewer.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, many convention goers got to do this year on Friday. They got to stomp around in the sewer if you went to the autograph floor.
Yes, that's true. Oh,
we'll get to that news. We'll get to that news. There might be a poop story involved tonight. Anything else you want to plug? I want to, I just said like 10 minutes or so, and I just wanted to like sort of chat, but and I've got a lot of show tonight. But
it's a great, I'm looking forward to checking it out myself. Folks, if you, first of all, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel because it helps out this channel very much. The likes do help, but if you're interested in this kind of show, you might like our weekly show Off the Rack over on Comic Pop Returns. Yeah. It's a fun time. Me and my wife, she's much more fun and talented than I am. Trust me, 50% of the show is worth watching at least.
I agree, folks, and that's part of why I have Sal on. We all talk about comics, but there is a different vibe to Sal's show. I'm doing a one-hander, and Sal for his live show, it's always a two-hander. Like he's got like two different opinions, him and Tiffany, and then when he does like his comic pop analysis of like storylines and comics and artists and stuff, you get a variety of opinions, and you've got each other to bounce off of. Which, by the way, I get jealous of. I think that looks fun.
Thank you. It is fun. It's so worth doing. Like I love doing it. We used to do it for free, like before it was a show.
Yeah. I know. So, if you can monetize it, that's the dream, right?
Bingo.
Thank you for giving me some of your time tonight, Sal. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite, man.
We'll talk. We'll be in touch. But I definitely recommend people check out Sal's channels. Let's see, we've got Comic Pop, we've got Comic Pop Returns, and then Off the Rack is on Comic Pop, right?
It's on Returns, but
it's on Comic Pop Returns. I just know that I get alerts. Because I've subscribed. That's why I'm asking.
Because of YouTube and the whole nature of like multiple channels and stuff like that. It all used to be on one channel, but then YouTube was like, "Oh, we don't like the variety." So now all of our live shows are on Returns. Exactly. No, it was a brilliant move. I'm glad you did it. I'm sure you're seeing a reward for that.
Yeah, but it's good. A lot of people saying nice things here about you, Sal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, man.
My best to your team, and
I will indeed.
I'll talk to you online soon.
Break a leg.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
That was fun, right? That was fun for me. I think Sal is just a really friendly guy. He really knows his mainstream comic lore too. So if you're asking, Ben Percy's Ghost Rider, how does it compare to another Ghost Rider run? He's a guy that will really have an informed opinion on that. Hey, EJ, saw that you had some Comic-Con news. I only saw that today. You're drawing a Spider-Man story or arc. Just saw that today. Tell you what, folks, we're like 18 minutes in, so I'll start with the news. We're going to do the news tonight. If there's time, I definitely have some new comics of the week to talk about. I've sketched out a Starscream I'd love to ink. I don't know if we'll have time for everything, but I'm going to go for it. We'll add the news here. Look at that killer thumbnail once again. There's so much to jam in when you're recapping the news of a week like this. But I have to limit it. And I have to put my gleaming face in there. Gleaming? Anyway, tonight's news, by the way, of course it's going to have new comic book titles and art teams to talk about. But we've also got lawsuits to talk about. We've got convention horror stories to talk about. There's a lot of funny stuff. There's a lot of dramatic stuff. It's going to be very, very easy. Uh, let's see. EJ Sue. Yeah. Spider Boy series for Marvel Unlimited from regular guest here, guy that I've known online for over 20 years at this point. EJ, doesn't that make us seem old? But yeah, EJ is a great artist, so I'm really happy for him there. I don't think I did see a Black Thor this year. I'm trying to think. Were you Black Thor by any chance, Clay? No, I did not get locked in a stairwell this year. So let's move on if we're going to be like that. If we're going to be like that. All right. Here's the first thing I'll talk about. Ghost Machine. This is something I don't completely understand yet, but was announced there. Ghost Machine is definitely an imprint that has some incredible creators behind it, like in terms of name recognition. Let's see. Oh, what am I wearing? It is a Teddy Fresh Godzilla shirt, which, by the way, I got recognized a lot, which was flattering. I also just got complimented on the sweater. So if that's something you guys like, teddyfresh.com. You're on a forum with Black Thor. Okay. So let's talk about what Ghost Machine is. So Geoff Johns is the one spearheading this. It's a new shared comics universe published through Image, all under the imprint Ghost Machine. Okay, so fair enough. You know, we've had imprints since the beginning of Image. What makes this one different? First of all, some of the creators. Of course, we've got Geoff Johns. We've got a lot of people that he's worked with at DC, plus 2 people that have worked on DC TV shows. We've got Bryan Hitch. Big fan of Bryan Hitch. Gary Frank, Francis Manapul, Peter Tomasi, Brad Meltzer, Jason Fabuk, Lamont McGee. I'm going to butcher this name, Maytal Schutt. Wow. A lot of names there. And all people I think Geoff Johns probably encountered working at DC, but now they're doing their own creator-owned thing. So here's what we've got coming out. In April of 2024, we've got a book called Rook Exodus by Jason Fabok. There's also Redcoat by Geoff Johns and Bryan Hitch. Giger, that book returns from Geoff Johns and Gary Frank. Schutt's book Devour is going to launch in October. I lost my mouse. Oh, there it is. Tomasi and Manapul are working on The Rockefellers, as well as we've got First Ghost by Brad Meltzer and The Soulless by McGee that are going to launch at some point in 2024. So those last two, I guess we don't know the artist yet. But what they said is that it's like a company that like shares everything. And what I'm curious about that I don't have clarification on is I'm not sure if they mean that they share the rights or the profits across the whole line, or if they're just sharing a universe. Because I saw some articles that seem to imply that they will literally share profits with each other. I don't know. I feel like I didn't read that with enough clarity to announce that as news. All I know is that these are some big names. They definitely are doing a shared universe with, they said, a lot of different genres, but that will like be in a shared universe. And yeah, it'll be curious to learn some more details on the business end of this one. Hey, it's my good friend Hooded Cobra Commander. I'm going to stop by his show briefly tomorrow night. He's going to do a live show Tuesday night. That's his channel name right there. And we're going to talk about some of the G.I. Joe news. I'm going to talk about it here, but then he'll probably like ask questions so that I can get more in detail tomorrow, because he does G.I. Joe. And he's my buddy. Yes, they share everything. Anyway, good for them. There's a lot of news, so I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to move on to one that's fun for me. Energon Universe. That's Robert Kirkman's new thing with Hasbro, where he's got his creator-owned book, Void Rivals, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. And they're all in a shared continuity. It's a complete reboot. Coffee. And we learned a lot of stuff this week. I went to the panel, and I'm going to share with you, like on a high level, what kind of stuff we learned. First of all, Joshua Williamson is writing 2 G.I. Joe books. And again, it's a reboot. One is called Duke, and one is called Cobra Commander, because they're basically the guys spearheading each of these teams between G.I. Joe and Cobra. So yeah, 2 monthly G.I. Joe books in this continuity, because he's got so much to say, he said. One thing I talked to him about, and he said he only wanted to do a new G.I. Joe book if he was sure that Larry Hama got to continue doing his. Whoops, I bumped my camera. That's really nice to hear, because personally, I think you guys know, I'm a big fan of Larry Hama's G.I. Joe continuity. It will have gone over 300 issues as soon as it starts at Skybound. That's a big number for one man to have been guiding the continuity on. So let's talk about some more stuff. Daniel Warren Johnson said, and I'm pretty sure this is a joke, folks, but Daniel Warren Johnson said that he killed Bumblebee because he didn't want to draw him. Now, I'm pretty sure that's a joke, because he did add Cliff Jumper, who's very similar. But he said that he's definitely dead. He also went into detail saying that he originally pitched that he wanted it to be really definitive by having Bumblebee's head on a spike, but Hasbro said no to that. Nevertheless, if you read the first issue, you'd see Bumblebee is taken out pretty aggressively. Daniel says he's definitely dead. He has no plans to bring him back. And they were doing that to show that this is something new. By the way, he also said that Duke is going to show up in issue 2 of Transformers. Joshua Williamson was speaking about how this is a big deal, for Duke, because Duke is sort of, the ultimate best soldier the U.S. military has. But seeing a Transformer will really shake him and change his worldview, because he feels like he's seen everything the world has to offer. He's been in some really bad conflict zones, but this changes everything for him. He also said that the Cobra Commander book is going to really be a horror book, and I believe that, because Joshua Williamson, I've talked up this book on the show. Really good horror book, Dark Ride. I really like that one. Let's see. I want to see the Joes turn Bumblebee into a Frankensteinian abomination. Well, who knows? I guess anything's possible. I don't believe there's any plans for Rom and Micronauts to join here. Nope. The voice actor for Duke? I could be wrong. I think it was Michael Bell, but Hoodie Coco, if he's still in there, would know. I'm not 100% sure on that. Yes, I went to New York Comic Con. That's where I got this information from. Let me keep going, because there's some interesting stuff. Kirkman was talking about Void Rivals. He said that after issue 6, that's a story arc, and then the book will pause briefly while some of the continuity stuff in G.I. Joe and Transformers catches up to basically where he is. And thank you for confirming that. I actually remembered that. I wasn't sure. Anyway, then issue 7 is going to introduce a brand new villain that Dave Felici designed. They've got a great creative partnership. Oblivion Song is one title they worked on together for a long time. Really great artist. Kirkman promised that there's a lot more of the alien known as the Skuxoid, that we're going to see his family and his culture and stuff. Also, he promised that the Quintessons are coming very soon. Let's see. I did talk to Jim Mahfood for quite a bit at the Comic-Con. He is busy. He moved to be closer to family and friends. So that's something that's been going on for him. Let's see. There's one more piece I thought. No, I guess that's everything. But I will mention, you can see on the right-hand side, these 2 pictures of G.I. Joe. These are the initial teams for G.I. Joe and Cobra, starting out pretty small. This guy with the white streaks in his hair is, I believe, Colonel Hawk, not General Hawk yet. Colonel Hawk will be sort of putting together G.I. Joe. We're going to meet Duke, who's the field leader. Duke will initially not be part of G.I. Joe. He will just be, an amazing soldier. Joshua Williamson was teasing that he's going to try to have Duke deliver a stone cold stunner to somebody before Daniel Warren Johnson can get to it. There is then Stalker, Sergeant Stalker is going to be on the team. I know that will make Hoodie Coco pretty happy. That is his favorite character. Stalker has an amazing bit of history in Larry Hama's book. And then Baroness. Well, that's interesting. Baroness has always been a villain. Since issue 1 of the original G.I. Joe comic, that was an original Larry Hama creation before she even had an action figure. He wanted Cobra to have, somebody senior in the ranks, a spy, an infiltrator, things like that. So Baroness goes back to the very beginnings of G.I. Joe's conception in terms of the vintage line, but she will somehow be on the Joe team initially. I don't trust her. And then this is the Cobra team. Of course, we've got Cobra Commander. Not surprised to see Destro. That makes sense. He's the arms dealer. Yep. Zarana. Okay. Would have thought Zartan initially. But if Zarana's there, you know that the whole Dreadnought team can't be too far away. They are typically presented as mercenaries, so that would make some sense. Joshua Williamson also said that his goal with the Cobra Commander book is to explain why, when we've always seen all of his troops and, senior leadership absolutely hate him, how did he even get them to join Cobra in the first place? And why are they willing to take his orders? So he's trying to create a story there where people kind of hate him, but respect him and will follow him. And then this is the one that interested me the most. This guy back here was an action figure. I believe he had 2 versions. Showed up in the G.I. Joe animated movie in 86, or was that 85? I think it was 86. That's Mercer. Mercer is definitely not as well known as, say, Shipwreck, or, hey, just to note, yeah, we're not seeing Storm Shadow or Snake Eyes yet. Interesting choice. Mercer does eventually defect and join the G.I. Joes. That is a really interesting character biography detail that's never really been explored too much in either the cartoon or the comics. Really interesting detail there. So I think we've got 2 people that might be switching teams, but was really interested. No, that is not one of the twins. Look at how huge he is. That is Mercer. Mercer, in the original first action figure biography, if I'm remembering right, it said he used to be a Cobra Viper that defected. That's interesting. So anyway, I love this stuff. That's why I've got it towards the beginning here, and we will see what happens. Here's some Dynamite news. Nick Barucci obviously stopped by earlier in the show, and this is not the only big piece of Dynamite news that I have to talk about tonight. Dynamite dropped some really big stuff. James Bond. Garth Ennis is going to be writing the title. It's a pretty big writer. Loved his work on Preacher and stuff like that. Let's see. Dynamite announced Garth Ennis will write their next James Bond comic. Covers clearly here by Dave Devil Pig Johnson. Love Dave Johnson. And interior artist Rafa Labosco. This is James Bond's 70th anniversary if we go from Ian Fleming's original written prose. 10th year at Dynamite. Big anniversary. Makes sense to get a big name. Ennis's story is going to sort of set the tone moving forward, and he's going to write a story called Your Cold, Cold Heart, which he says is based on a harder, more grounded version of James Bond that you would find in those Ian Fleming novels, as compared to the very much larger-than-life person that he is in the action movies. It's an interesting decision. Interesting decision. All of the news sounds extra interesting when the company is named Dynamite. Yup. Let's see. And there's one more piece that I want to describe here, the plot. So it's going to launch this January, and it follows a story in which I believe the Russians, but like a lab has developed a chemical that can kill without a trace. Pretty big deal. As soon as it's perfected, that is stolen from a lab. MI6 tasks James Bond with recovering it. Pretty cool. This will be his Fury Max comic. That's one way to look at it. That's one way. The James Bond novels are decent reads, and they are. it's a guy that's essentially an assassin. He's a spy, but he's a dark dude. It'll be interesting. And it's his idea of grounded is like Hitman, which had a zombie zoo attack. So we'll see. We shall see. Probably won't see Jaws, especially since that, comes from the movies. And I'm pretty sure this is more licensed from the estate, like just the idea of James Bond. But, it'll have Moneypenny and M and Q, all his traditional stuff. Hey, no matter what, we've got a knick-knack, yeah. Teehee. We're gonna have some obscure sidekick villains. But yeah, sorry, I'm stuttering. Dave Johnson. Love his artwork. But you know what? I also think that it's good to have somebody from the UK write the James Bond comic. I think he's got a certain closeness to the material and affinity, and I look forward to it. Sounds promising to me. Here's some drams. I told you that there'd be some drama mixed in. I'll read that title to you. I think everybody here can read since you're both chatting and you read comics, but I'll read it to you anyway. Make it easy. Maybe you're working right now and you're just listening. That's cool. Listen to my sultry voice and chill out. Why not? Aquaman 2 has a report on a fight between lead actor Jason Momoa and the actress that plays Mera, Amber Heard. So here we go. This is all coming through Variety, which is a reputable trade publication when it comes to Hollywood news. Amber Heard felt that she was treated badly on the set of Aquaman 2 by lead actor Jason Momoa. Let's see. Where's this come from? Well, you probably remember that there was that humongous court case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, who abused who. It was a real mess. I didn't pay attention to all of it. My understanding is Amber Heard did not come out looking good. But there are a lot of Johnny Depp fans in the world. They paid to get some of the court documents released, which is, I guess, a thing you can sometimes do. I didn't know. So they teamed up to get the money. They released some documents, and some of those documents included notes from Amber Heard's therapist that her team had entered into record. They didn't read them all, but they're out there. And then they uploaded those documents to Reddit. This is legal. This was entered into court record. You could not care less about this. Well, there's a second movie coming out, so that's why I'm talking about it. Let's see if this is real or not. She didn't poop in his trailer. Just to cut to the Comic-Con news, she's the one that pooped on the convention floor. I'm joking, just so that I don't get sued. I'm joking. Yeah, someone left a grumpy on the bed. That's what Johnny Depp calls poops, grumpies. Heard felt, according to her in these talks with her therapist, that Momoa had pushed to get her fired, that he arrived to set drunk, and that he dressed like Johnny Depp to taunt her. Well, a DC spokesperson pushed back on that. And, obviously biased source, but I do tend to give it some weight the way they presented it. If you go and do your own reading and stuff, DC said that Momoa was never drunk. That's just not true. Says he simply dresses in a similar bohemian style to Johnny Depp, that, he has lots of rings and jewelry and stuff, and that was not him trying to be Johnny Depp. That is just how he dresses, and that Amber Heard's interpretation of that does not match with reality. That's their claim. I don't know who's right. And finally, DC reveals that Momoa hadn't pushed to get her fired, but after the first movie came out in 2019, apparently the studio execs did consider in 2019 of recasting this character and ditching her. They felt that they didn't have good chemistry as actors together. And apparently why they didn't, she was dating Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is very rich, if you didn't know, like offensively rich. And he had his attorneys write a scorched earth letter to the studio threatening to just rain down very expensive lawsuits on them if they fired her. So I think that they just decided to massively reduce her role. But they did not want to risk those lawsuits because Elon has more money than he knows what to do with, and that would be a nuisance. So yes, this ultimately is a story about how annoying Elon Musk is. Momoa looks drunk all the time. That's just who he is. By the way, I liked Jason Momoa in Fast X. It's a ridiculous movie, but I thought that he brought some funny energy to that villain. Garth Ennis should name his Bond villain Buttface Bloodsucker. Sure, why not? I didn't know Musk was an ex of Heard until I read the Variety article. I didn't either. I don't pay attention to that usually. Wow is right. Wow is sort of an understatement. Wow is an understatement. Well, I'm sorry that you don't like her. I don't know much about her, to be honest. You mean he looks bohemian all the time? Yeah. Elon even had her cosplay as Mercy from Overwatch. That is some teenager energy there. He could potentially make for a good Lobo. I don't think Lobo has as much depth as Aquaman, so I don't think it's as challenging a role. It could be a fun role. I think he's got the look. He's got the look. It's all how he's used. I will say this. The first Aquaman movie was ridiculous. It was so over the top. It was so big and bloated. And you know what? I didn't expect anything of it, and I had a good time at it. I didn't expect to. I shouldn't have underestimated James Wan. James Wan makes entertaining movies, from horror to action to superheroes. I think he made a pretty entertaining movie. Out of like that sort of DC extended universe, I'd put Aquaman towards the top, which isn't necessarily saying a lot, but I did have fun at it. I did have fun. Jason Momoa as Kite Man. Yes, folks, I did refer to the role of Aquaman as having more depth than Lobo. I can be funny. I know how to be funny sometimes. You know, I get nervous about this. The Aquaman movie is kind of goofy and over the top, right? The trailers for Aquaman 2 show that the main villain is Black Manta, and they show that Aquaman has an infant son. If you've read the comics, you will know that does not end well. It may be way too serious if they try to adapt that storyline. This is going back to the 1970s. I have no reason to believe that they would include it in a movie like this, but in the 70s, Black Manta kidnapped Aquaman's son and put him in like an air bubble. So his son was slowly suffocating. And yeah, he successfully killed Aquaman's infant son. It is devastating. It's honestly a good comic book that people have forgotten about. No, his wife does not get offed, but it does drive a wedge between them for a long time. This is not Aqua Lad or anything. This was Aqua Baby, basically. That seems like way too serious for the way this movie looks, but that is something that happens in the comics. So because that's potentially tonally so out there, I'll just mention that is some of the source material is all. I hope they don't try to adapt that. I think it would be a mistake. Did they do it in the Justice League cartoon? I didn't watch too much of that. Wow. I would trust them to handle it better. I would. Yeah, I bet you're right. Like I could see him losing a hand or something is like, that's a heroic sacrifice that I could see happening. But I don't know about like losing his son. We'll see. Yeah, it drove Mara mad for a while. Exactly. At the same time, this is like the last movie in the DCEU, so who knows? All bets are off. Let's do some more comic book news. Or at least comic book TV news. This is weird, but I think that this is something where Marvel is making a good move long-term for their TV division. Let me get into this. They've canceled some of their TV projects, and they're basically rebooting their own Daredevil show that they haven't released yet. So, The Hollywood Reporter released this. Again, another very reputable trade publication. They said that Marvel is completely rethinking their approach to making TV shows, including their streaming stuff on Disney+. What they want to do now, they want to make a pilot like regular TV. That way you can see a version of a finished product, have an idea of, does the concept work? Does the tone work? Do the actors work in these roles? Before this, Marvel's just been like going like, oh, we'll do Secret Invasion. Here's $150 million. Oh, that didn't come out so well. Whoops. I think that this is a safer way to hedge your bets, make sure that it works. So that's part of this. And to that extent, just so that we know where things are, almost half of the 18 Daredevil episodes that were commissioned were filmed before the actors' strike. And then Kevin Feige, the exec president guy of the whole studio, he said he saw this stuff and he felt it wasn't working properly. So instead of just rushing it out, they let the head writers go. They let the remaining directors of the still to be shot episodes go. They're basically going to reset. They may even refilm all of this stuff. We may not see much or any of what they've already filmed. They're going to redo it. They've decided that now, instead of just having a writing team, they're going to have a showrunner. That is what regular television does on cable and network. There's a showrunner who's in charge of the whole thing, has a stake in it, not just a head writer, and certainly not a film producer. Film is a very different medium than long-form storytelling. They've just been having film executives make sure that this gets done and ties in. New Lost Media dropped. Yeah. Loki, Hawkeye, and She-Hulk turned out good at least. I like a lot of the TV shows. I also, personally, I liked Miss Marvel. I did. And I liked WandaVision. I did. I think Loki's probably the best, but yeah. Didn't enjoy Secret Invasion. Yeah, I do like Loki season 2 as well so far. Secret Invasion was a mess. It really, really was. It really was. Yeah, it could cost a lot. You know what costs more? Putting out a shitty product. So, in some ways, this strike may be long-term a good thing for Marvel. They are definitely slowing down their MCU output. They definitely are acknowledging that not all the movies have hit. Regardless of what you think of the quality, it's a fact that things like The Eternals or Thor 4, things like that, are not going over as well as they'd hoped. Ant-Man 3 didn't really make a profit. I think they spent too much money on it. I think it was a decent enough movie. Anyway. So, here's one last piece to what they're doing. Wonder Man and Vision Quest apparently are canceled. They're not doing those. Those are good storylines and characters, but you know what? I'd rather have an overall higher quality and less content. I would absolutely prefer that. So I hope this is a good move. I hope. It seems interesting. I did see The Creator. It was good sci-fi. It was really good. Yeah. Yeah, I think what happened with Secret Invasion, also, by the way, happened with She-Hulk, but I don't think affected it as much. They let some of the head writers go in the middle and hired new writers. You can do that usually on a TV show, but usually there's a showrunner who also will write, but also produce, sometimes even direct. But a showrunner is usually like the creative head of a TV show in American TV. We'll see. At least they are taking these criticisms seriously. So I hope we see an improvement after this strike. That's my hope. We'll see. We'll see. Ironheart is and Agatha don't really have drop dates yet, but we'll see. They've got time to work on those two. Sal and I hinted at this at the top of the show, but this was something that came out of New York Comic Con. Tom Hardy is working on a comic book, and he's doing it with Scott Snyder. Okay, Tom Hardy, I think we know, likes sci-fi and likes comics. He's been in Star Trek and Mad Max, and he's done a bunch of superhero movies. Let's talk about this. He's played Venom. He's played Bane. Well, now he's teaming up with Scott Snyder on a 12-issue comic called Arcbound. Okay, let's see what we're talking about here. For what it's worth, Hardy is not the scripter. He is credited as a creative collaborator. And at the convention, he explained that his overall job is to be responsible for character development. Hey, if you've got one more person thinking about stuff like that over a 12-issue storyline, I think that's promising. I think the goal ultimately would be for him to play the main character in a TV or movie, but that's cool. I like Tom Hardy as an actor very much because I didn't expect to like the first Venom movie, and I kind of did. And a lot of it was just because of Tom Hardy. And by the way, he's done a lot of serious good drama too. He's a good actor. I like Tom Hardy was great in Peaky Blinders. I think we could all reference at least one project where Tom Hardy was really good. What was that Leonardo DiCaprio movie where he played a real life fur trader that had been attacked by a bear? Tom Hardy played a real duplicitous fur trader that betrayed him. I thought that was a great villainous role for him. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie. Something that starts with an R. I can't remember. Let's see. The Drop is Stealth, Tom Hardy's best movie behind Fury Road. I also love Fury Road. Great movie. The Revenant. Thank you. The Revenant. That's a good Tom Hardy role, by the way. Good, really good. He feels real, but that's a villain that you love to hate. He's just so despicable with how sneaky he is and stuff. There have been lots of celebrities doing comics since the 90s. I agree with you there, JL. I definitely agree. I hope that this one works. Let's talk some more about what it's about. Oh, by the way, besides Scott Snyder, another co-scripter is Frank Thierry. I've talked about some of Frank's books in the past. I like Frank's work. He's doing a Godzilla book right now, set back during the days of Caribbean pirates and stuff and the Spanish Armada. It's a really fun take on Godzilla. Artist Greg Smallman. I haven't seen. I said Greg. I meant. I think I started to confuse Greg Smallwood when I typed that. I meant Ryan Smallman. My apologies. By the way, who's publishing this is a excellent question. I think it was Image. Let me Google it. I can't remember right now. I think it's Image. Do any of these articles say it? Huh. It's coming out in March. Oh, excuse me. It says that it has yet to find a publisher. That's interesting. That's according to AIPT Comics. They don't have a publisher set up. They're just making this. That's some confidence. It's not definitely Image. This could absolutely end up a different place. Wow. Here's the premise. It's a sci-fi premise. The formidable corporatocracy, Xenotech, harnesses the unmatched energy of chromium to assert its dominion across the stars. The Arcbound series chronicles the journey of Kai, played by Tom Hardy, a resolute mediator captain tasked with maintaining Xenotech's lifeline to chromium. However, as he grapples with the morality of his role, revelations about Xenotech's dubious past thrust him into a poignant quandary to remain loyal to the Empire or to confront the forces that molded him into a tool of oppression. Okay, well, there's a character arc, and I don't know about you. I'm always misplacing my chromium, so I think we can all relate to that. Who's a bigger nerd, Henry Cavill, Tom Hardy, or Joe? I always mispronounce his name, Manganiello. I don't think we can quite put Tom Hardy in that category because Henry Cavill, we know, paints Warhammer figurines, and Joe Manganiello runs D&D sessions. So I think Henry's hobby is more solo. I think that's the nerdier one. Great question, Victor. Great question. I wonder what he'll choose. Probably to be a good guy. We'll see, though. We'll see. From what I can see, Tom Hardy has a huge ass in this, so I'll read it if they're catering directly to me with this one. Let's see. Well, you know what? Beowulf may have noticed something. Look at that. In the future, there may be butt implants for everybody. They may be legally mandated by corporatocracy Xenotech. So I don't know. That's a good point. Did they check the couch cushions for the chromium? There might be enough there for everybody. Henry Cavill also built his own computer. I think he's the biggest nerd. The answer is Jamie Lee Curtis. She loves One Piece. I expect her to show up on the live action show at some point. Jamie Lee Curtis really loves One Piece. She says she wishes she could play Nico Robin. Don't count out Vin Diesel. That's true. Yeah, he made a movie about his own D&D character. That's right. What was that even called? I can't even remember. I tried to get through it and I couldn't. Rear protection plates, biotic implants. You guys are good. You guys are good. I'll have to keep you around. Let's go to some legal troubles. ISOM, and when I say ISOM, I do not mean the character because I capitalized all of this. I am talking about a ministry, like an online ministry corporation. They have started legal proceedings against this guy called Eric July, some sort of like right-wing YouTuber that made crowdfunded comics and he named his character ISOM. So there's this guy, Dr. Baron Gilfillan. Hopefully I got his name right. He's the founder of Good Shepherd Ministries. They operate branded-wise as ISOM. It stands for something like International Something or Other Mysteries. When I say something or other, I don't literally mean that's what the SOM stands for. But anyway, so he said on Twitter that his organization tried to negotiate in good faith with Eric July over his crowdfunded comic ISOM, but that they've reached an impasse and they're starting legal proceedings to protect their trademark. No matter what you think, I think you have to do this when you have that trademark. So let's see. Here's part of Dr. Gilfillan's quote. He made a huge post on Twitter. I can't quote it all. It would take us forever. But anyway, he said, their infringement of our ISOM trademark is now at a point where it is colliding with our customers and our organizational use and cannot be ignored. I mean, the main character here does have a Christian cross on his outfit. It uses the same name. They both produce things like, hats and t-shirts and stuff. Just by virtue of the fact that this guy's got the Christian cross, I do think that that's enough to make some confusion for some of these people that could be into Good Shepherd Ministries. They don't know much about comics usually. Ripaverse, that's, I guess, Eric July's fans. He's created the Ripaverse in comics. Anyway, those fans attacked Dr. Gilfillan. If you read the comments, the replies to his thing saying like, hey, I tried to resolve this, but just so you know, we're starting legal proceedings. They attacked him. They were vicious. I do not want to have those fans mad at me. So I am just reading the news, folks. Don't really want to get into opinions. I don't know why he has a crucifix codpiece. I didn't read it. I looked at some of the art, didn't think it was for me. So yeah. Anyway, they attacked him so much that Gilfillan has done a bunch of replies on Twitter, including a video like trying to explain his side of things. Like he's like, please don't attack me. This is what I'm doing. Anyway, let's see. I read that outfit as a capital I with the belt. Really? A capital I? It's clearly a cross, Mike. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. Look, ultimately, I do think that these are two very different products. A superhero comic book and a ministry, very different, should be able to use some of the same names. But I also think if I was going to make this comic, I would have done a Google search, seen that it has clearly been used for decades and has lots of products associated with it. Merchandise is really what I mean. So I wouldn't have even bothered to name him that. Give him any name you want. Captain Super Terrific. I don't know. Okay, that doesn't roll off the tongue, but strange decision, in my opinion, to not have done a little bit of due diligence. I mean, I can't imagine that any due diligence was done, because this seems like a really obvious thing to just go, oh, I shouldn't name it that. Anyway, yeah, name him Isometric. I don't know. I don't really know why he's called that. As I said, I didn't read the book. So just some drams. Whoever wins, couldn't care less. I also don't care too much about who wins. It's just some drams. Captain Super Terrific is owned by Geoff Johns. Well, you heard it here first. I'm going after Geoff Johns. Geoff Johns versus Comic Tropes. Mr. Comics here. Mr. Comics versus Geoff Johns. There's probably some more fun news that we could talk about instead. Oh, well, that was the worst transition I possibly could have had. But I do want to acknowledge this because I liked Keith Giffin's work. Keith Giffin has passed away this past week at age 70, which is definitely sad. He was a big name in comics, did a lot of stuff, more than I can really break down all right here. I'm going to talk about a few nice things that he did. So first of all, just to be clear, he passed away from a stroke on October 9th. He was 70. 70 is not bad, but I wish he was still with us. Some of the stuff he's well known for, and you might have read some of this stuff or known these characters, but not necessarily known that it was attached to Keith Giffin's name. So let me recap. I think you would know if you watched my episode on comic tropes. He's very well known for his stint writing, or co-writing really, Justice League International with J.M. DeMatteis, art by Kevin Maguire. Definitely gave things a funny look at what we could do with superheroes. Hold on just a sec. I've got my phone plugged in because it is very low on battery. And I'm just making sure that the plug stays in. In fact, if there's an issue, I'm going to get a webcam backup just to be on the safe side. Give me a sec. I'm just going to put this aside just in case I have an issue with the phone. All right. Ambush Bug is definitely a big one. I see some folks mentioning that. Here's some characters that he co-created that you may or may not know. Lobo, Rocket Raccoon as an artist, Bill Mantlo wrote. Keith Giffin was also an artist as well as a writer. The Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. Rocket Raccoon and Blue Beetle, both used in movies this past year. That's thanks to Keith Giffin. So yeah, he's done some really good stuff. This is epic, folks. He posted a final message, apparently. Well, anyway, here's what we do know. There was a message posted to his personal Facebook account. It is believed that he left that for his family to post in the event that he passed away. So I think he knew that he was not in great health. Here's literally what it said. I saw this on Facebook and it blew my mind. I told them I was sick. Anything not to go to New York Comic Con. Thanks, Keith Giffin, 52-23. Pretty epic. I think it is cool when a creative person keeps their health just to their family and friends, does not distract their fans with it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be open about that, but like some of my favorite creators have suddenly left, and it is hard to deal with, but also it has let me enjoy their work right up to the end. I'm talking about David Bowie. I'm talking about Norm Macdonald. And I'm talking about guys like Keith Giffin. It's brave to me to you got to confide with your family and friends, no question. But let your sort of work speak for itself. I think that's brave. Maybe I'm dark by thinking that. I think it's brave. I hope I can have that kind of courage someday. Let's see. He co-created Rocket Raccoon and created Lobo, which are two great characters. Shame that he's gone. Rest in paradise, Keith Giffin. Very kind of you to say, Rebellious Monkey. Very kind of you to give me a super chat. I really appreciate it. I do. Oh, yep. He co-wrote Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. And yes, I didn't include this in this quote. Excuse me. Owen Reviews points out, he also included Bwahaha, his famous sort of catchphrase from his Justice League International thing, where people just like burst out like laughing. Bwahaha. Yeah. I can't believe I missed that piece of it. So dumb. So, his passing was a shock, to be sure. Has anybody read his and J.M. DeMatteis' Scooby Apocalypse? Worth it? I want to explore the more odd works of his I may have missed out on. Yeah. Then he ends it with Bwahaha. If you got to go with a smile. Yes, I was mentioning Bill Mantlo was the writer. Keith Giffin was the artist. It was a black and white comic in something like Marvel Premiere. I don't know if it was Marvel Premiere, but it was something like that. One of those types of books. Sort of an anthology. Yep, it's true. He had some controversies of copying somebody's style in later years. You know, so be it. I still think he created a lot of good things. That doesn't make copying right at all. He was called out. He tried to explain it that he was overly influenced by it, but didn't literally trace it. I don't know. I don't know one way or the other. Yes, he did write the comic where Batman punched Guy Gardner. In fact, if you look closely, infamous Mike Manhattan, I have included that panel here. Guy Gardner laid out with one punch from Batman and Blue Beetle laughing at it. By the way, I didn't know he co-created the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. That's also another great character. Honestly, I'm glad that his character will live on in the James Gunn DC universe. Well, we don't know that for a fact yet, but he probably will. But I don't think we know that. That's true. I did do an intro in the hospital when I thought I was going to die. And I was like, if I don't die, I think this is a funny intro. If I do die, no one knows. No one knows. To be fair, Keith Giffin drew in a couple different styles. He had, a more traditional style early on. He had one where, he was sort of copying another artist. And then he did one that was very influenced by Simon Beasley. Like if he did his comic Trencher at Image, and that definitely is reminiscent of what Beasley was doing for Lobo. But it wasn't like the same. Oops. Okay. Here's something. I didn't even know that this was being made. It flew under the radar, but there's a manga that's coming to Netflix, live action adaptation, live action Yu Yu Hakusho. Pretty famous manga if you haven't read it. So, Yu Yu Hakusho was a manga that ran from 1990 to 1994. It's about a teen delinquent who ends up getting killed by a car when he, sort of out of character, tries to save a young child. And he does save the kid. So he goes to the afterlife, and instead of getting tortured and everything, because, he was altruistic at the very end, he is given a job. He's tasked with investigating cases of things like demons and apparitions that are in the human world. And eventually it sort of just, in its 4-year run, it like gradually became more and more of a fight manga. But it is beloved by its fans. Just to be clear, over 78 million copies sold. That's big. That's popular. It is by Yoshihiro Togashi. If you've heard that name before and you don't know Yu Yu Hakusho, you probably know his book Hunter x Hunter. And if you don't know that, then you might know him as the husband of the lady that created Sailor Moon. So this is a rare case where, this guy's created some amazing stuff. His wife, she's on a whole other level, because I think Sailor Moon, everybody knows. Netflix announced that the live action version is about to come out December 14th. And this actor here, well, the main character, Yusuke Urameshi, is going to be played by Takumi Kitamura, who played the lead recently in Tokyo Revengers. There was a live action Tokyo Revengers adaptation where he played, what was it? Takamichi. I love Sailor Moon. Oh, man, I hope that Monster gets adapted someday. That could be so damn good as a TV show. Yes, totally agree. What car brand do you think they'll get to make him roadkill? Based on what I drove in Japan the other week, I'd say a Toyota Rumi, Roomy. The creator of Yu Yu Hakusho also created Hunter x Hunter, and his wife created Sailor Moon. That's what I'm saying. Pretty interesting family, right? Like, that is a husband-wife power couple in comics. We've got some husband-wife power couples in comics, like Walton Louise Simonson, or Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, things like that. But Come on. Hunter x Hunter and Sailor Moon. That is a power couple. That is a comics power couple. I'm not super familiar with this one, no. I might watch the live action version before the other versions, just because it's easy. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen the live action version of Tokyo Revengers, but I am reading that manga and I enjoy that one a lot. Oh yeah, the Allreds, yup, the Dodsons. There are some great power couples. And at the same time, I don't think you could quite place them on the same level as the folks that I'm talking about. The Peenies, they're great. Chris and Chrissy are a power couple. Hell yeah. By the way, my wife sold a painting this past week. So yes, very proud of her. She's incredible. I'm very happy. I'm lucky. I hope Yu Yu Hakusho will be good like One Piece. Let's hope so. Thank you for the super chat. The funny thing about his death is that it was pointless. The kid he tried to save would have been fine without his intervention. But it's still about what he did was still selfless. So yeah. I watched the first episode of live action One Piece, Void Coupon. I want to get further. I'm watching the anime. My wife, Chrissy, kind of really likes it. She thinks it's quite funny and charming, and I do too. So we're trying to get pretty far ahead in the anime, and then we'll go back and watch how they do it in live action. We'd seen enough that we watched the first episode, and we were like, that's pretty good, but let's see the anime first, and then we'll see like sort of what changes they do. Togashi writes some of the best villains I've seen in comics. Very cool. Very cool. It won't. Oda is the only reason One Piece is good. Togashi is too sick to oversee it. That doesn't mean it'll be bad. There have been good adaptations where the creator isn't directly involved. And he is still producing Hunter x Hunter in between his illnesses. So he's not like on death's door, I don't think. That's a good way of describing it, I believe. Thank you, Human Falafel. I have not seen Outlaw Star. Well, I'm going to move on because we could talk about manga all night, and that would be fun, but I've got a lot to talk about today. This one was interesting. Mags Visaggio posted on Twitter that she had pitched DC a comic. It definitely would have been incendiary, I think, with a wide variety of takes, but she was coming up with the idea to turn the clone Superboy, Connor Kent, into a trans person. Okay. She posted it like her pitch. She shared it on Twitter. There was artwork by Derek Robertson. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Eisner-nominated writer Magdalene Mags Visaggio posted to Twitter her pitch for revealing Connor Kent would transition to Connie Kent, also known as Skyrocket. I agree with you guys. Derek Robertson, no matter what you think of this, that costume's awesome. And yes, she did set some of the stuff up in an Action Comics issue 1057. So she laid some groundwork. DC said no. The pitch was rejected by DC. I guess just, a bridge too far for them with such a prominent character. I'm not that against it, to be honest, because there's a lot of Superman family characters right now. There really are. And I don't know. I liked the 90s Superboy. I did. The art by Tom Grummett was really, really fun. At the same time, that was like 20 years ago, and I don't think he's done that much. He's been a member of like Titans and Young Justice. I don't think he's been used a lot. The character, here's the journey that would have taken him to sort of being trans. Apparently, of course he had those feelings and just didn't understand them yet, but the character would have been flung 14,000 years into the future, been a hero, like way in the future, but realized that he wasn't remembered. He's not in the history books. Superman is, but not his version of Superboy. And then eventually does get home, and it sort of made him realize like that he isn't who he thought he had to be, and he entered a Kryptonian transformation chamber, which might be a little easy, but it would turn him into Connie Kent. Let's see. we could come up with a better name. A lot of fans like this idea, but thought that the name Supernova would be better. And Mags did agree that that is a better name than Skyrocket. But yeah, I know a lot of trans women. They can be cocky shits like 90s Superboy. No offense. She made some good points in the write-up about it. I think that there were some good ideas behind it, to be honest. I don't know if it would have worked or not. I don't know. It definitely, there have been some new trans characters that DC has created. I don't know that they're easy to think of off the top of your head, whereas like maybe a lesser used character like this version of Superboy could have worked. I don't mean to waffle here. I don't know if it would have worked or not. I've liked some of Mag's stuff. I'm trying to remember. She wrote a book that was adapted into like one season of a sci-fi show. I thought it was decent. Oh, you think that Connie, but Connor to Connie isn't too bad. Anyway. Marvel does have 2 or 3 supernovas, including one that just came out this past week, by the way. Was there one more piece? No, that was everything. It just obviously got a lot of attention on Twitter, which isn't the same as like the kind of attention it might or might not generate in comics. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, though, to have a prominent trans superhero. And it is tricky because, you're like, we'll create a new character, but trans is something that like, takes a lot of people time to figure out that is their identity. They don't all know that from day one. So there is a logic to an existing character transitioning. But you have to balance that with the fact that this is a business. This is a business. And DC and Marvel may not be overly motivated to grow that business. They seem very content to remain the status quo. They're basically funded by huge companies, and they're an IP factory to some degree. But I don't know where I was going with that. I guess I lost track. I don't have any Steve Ditko news, Joel. I don't have any Steve Ditko news. Set up a new character sys and then gradually have them transition. Maybe. It's not a bad idea, but it's a tough call. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite manga, Berserk. There was an article in a Japanese newspaper this past week talking with the writer who is guiding the last story arc here, Koji Mora. And if you don't know, Koji Mora is also a manga creator and was the best friend of Berserk's writer and artist Kentaro Miura. They were best friends. And to the extent they said they spent more time with each other than with their families. They knew each other for a long time. They were very different people, but they really loved each other like brothers. And Koji Mora has taken over to wrap up Berserk, which is a tough decision, but we'll talk about it because that's what he was talking about. So he's a 56-year-old manga creator, and he spoke with Asahi Shimbun, and I don't know what that translates to, but the Shimbun might translate to something like New Minute. I'm not sure. I'm just going off the little bit of Japanese that I've sort of learned. He was talking about issue 42. That volume, by the way, came out while I was over there, and I did pick it up. It's in Japanese. It's not out in an English translation yet, but I just wanted to see it as soon as I could. So here's one thing that he said. He said that he remembers his conversations with Kentaro Miura about Berserk's overall story very well. He was like the only guy, Koji Mora was the only guy that Miura confided the overall story to. He was like, does this make sense? What do you think of like, this, that, and the other? So Mora did know the entire story. And he says he can remember those very well because he really enjoyed them. But he can't recall much about the day where he learned the news that his friend died. It's like a blank spot in his memory. He just cannot recall that day very well. He remembers the phone ringing. And then he said his wife told him that when he heard the news, he just fell to the ground and put his hands on the ground in despair and was just crying. He was just devastated. Devastated. Asahi Shimbun Morning News. Shimbun. Okay. Morning News. That makes sense. Yeah, trauma response. Exactly. Really rough. Really rough. It's a tough decision to continue something without the creator, but this was Kentaro Miura's life's work. Most manga do not get to volume 42. Maybe 30 volumes is considered a long-running manga, just to be clear. But a lot of them might tap out somewhere in the 30s, maybe the 40s. And, it's very rare for things like Golgo 13 or One Piece to, go hundreds of volumes. Here's a quote from Kojimura to the newspaper. Miura was a manga genius bursting with talent. He had an eagerness to see things through to the end, as well as an outstanding ability to paint, conceive stories, and employ narrative devices effectively. Very sweet. I agree, by the way. I love Berserk. He said that when he saw the assistants that Kentaro Miura worked with, which is known as Studio Gaga, when he saw them finish the last few pages of the final chapter that Miura had wrote but not finished drawing all of, he thought it looked really good and looked like Miura's style. Like this team worked very hard to keep it looking the same. And he said, here's a quote. He goes, "The thought that Miura would be mad at me doing nothing motivated me to reach a decision. It may be unforgivable for me to do it now that Miura is no longer here. I will never add my own twist. I will simply remember and convey what Miura told me." So he says that he knows where the story's going. He's not trying to change that in any way. He's just relaying that. And the studio artists are doing their best. So, it gives us closure. And I think later, once it finally finishes, we may be able to look back and see if there was any sort of tonal shifts. In the moment, like right now, while I'm getting the new chapters, it feels of a kind to what I've been experiencing with Berserk. I don't feel there's been any sort of shift in the story or the art. But I might be able to recognize it later down the road when there's more of it to compare. I don't know. It's a tough decision, I agree, to continue something after the artist passed away. But there's no one else that could do it, and I'm glad that I'll get a type of closure. I'll get the closest thing I can to Kentaro Miura's vision, since he related to his friend and has, some assistant artists that can draw in his style. That's the closest I think we can hope for. I don't know if that's controversial. I think Golden Age was an incredible story arc. That's the one I talked most about when I did my episode about Berserk. But I fell in love enough with the characters that I do want to see where it goes. I want to see what happens with Griffith and Guts and all of them. I want to see. If you haven't read it, I do still recommend it. It's a journey. It's very violent. It's very dark. Basically, anything bad that could happen to somebody happens to the protagonist. And he does not start the story very likable. But the fact that he's even still willing to keep going and that's impressive in and of itself. And he does become a better person. So there's a really interesting character arc to it. Let AI finish it. One massive run-on sentence. Fudge that. I'm not going to swear. All right, there's more news. The Walking Dead is bringing back Carol. And of course, we are talking about the TV version because anybody that's read the comics knows that Carol did not last that long in the comics. She died pretty early on. But the actress playing her kind of developed her into a much more interesting character. And she has lived past her comic book origin or story arc. So the popular TV character Carol was announced to join The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon for season 2. again played by Melissa McBride. The plan, originally was to have that be a two-hander, be a Daryl and Carol show, but at the time, I guess Melissa didn't want to move to France where they were filming it. I think just to be with her family, but I guess things have changed enough that she felt that she could, carve out the time to do this show. And I think that she's very. Did I not say that Asahi Shinbun was a newspaper? I thought I did say that. But yeah, lovely to see you, Sean. I remember Norman Reedus in Blade 2. He plays a very memorable character in that. You say that, but the audiences are still there, and business-wise, they're going to keep it going. Okay, they just are. The Daryl Dixon show is a little similar to Last of Us. I didn't watch it all, but yeah. Asahi is morning. Asahi is morning? Okay. Thank you. Shinbun is newspaper. Oh, okay. I was breaking those two out. Like, bun I know is minute and shin sort of means new. So I was like just trying to interpret it. Thank you for explaining it to me. I didn't realize that it was just a flat out word. Thank you. Steve Sorensen, unwinding from New York Comic Con. Give Vidya a like. Sorry I didn't see you, Steve. Sorry I didn't see you. But yeah. I've heard some good things about season 1 for what it's worth. I heard that they went in a cool direction and that it was well executed. I didn't see it. Because Daryl wasn't created by Kirkman, and so he felt that since he was created for the TV show, he didn't want to add back to the comics something that like was all him. Like Daryl was more of a creation of a bunch of the writers on the TV show, kind of a shared resource. And he didn't want to, he wanted the comic book to be 100%, his. I get it. And no spoilers, but they do set up this stuff in the final episode, by the way, of the first season. They do set it up. It was dope seeing you last year. Thank you. It was great seeing you. Thank you for the super chat. The showrunner, David Zabel, said that season 2 is going to feature Daryl deciding between returning to the people he cares about back in America and the friends that he basically accidentally made there in France. His loyalties are now divided. That's an interesting place to put a character. And finally, in season 2, Carol will be actively searching for Daryl to warn him about something. Why would somebody or something threaten Daryl? I don't know. But I will say, one of the strongest parts of the Walking Dead TV show ended up being these characters' friendship. They're very different people. But there was just it seemed a platonic friendship that developed between them that was interesting. So yeah. Well, Clay, I feel that is what they were getting at with, the very final episodes of regular Walking Dead and with season 1 of Daryl Dixon. I do feel that they are talking about rebuilding civilization. Hey, there's these things called zombies. You got to watch out for them. Have you encountered any? You might have encountered some now that I think of it. I'm sorry. I took a long trip over here to tell you about that. What was I thinking? Carol on the TV show is much better than the Carol from the comics. Carol in the comics was pretty annoying. She was just somebody that was really, she didn't have much direction. She tried to be in a relationship, and when it didn't work out, she went crazy and let the zombies eat her. And as they were eating her, she's like, "You care about me." She just went crazy. She didn't last that long. All right. Stan Lee's daughter. Oh, JC. JC Lee is suing her late father's entertainment company, POW Entertainment. So this comes from Variety, that JC is suing POW Entertainment again. This time, just to be clear, this is Stan Lee's sole heir. He didn't have any other kids. If you've ever read any of his biographies, it's actually a bit of a tragic story. But JC was his only kid. And she has alleged that her stake in POW Entertainment has been diluted after a series of what she calls suspicious transactions. She filed to get access to their financial records to make sure she's being paid appropriately. I hope so. I don't know. She also claims that she hasn't been paid for some sales that they've made, as well as her agreed upon $125,000 a year annual salary. But if you've ever read anything about JC, she seems very sort of directionless in life, and I think was very spoiled. I think that, you know, she just really didn't get any direction in life. She grew up with her parents kind of spoiling her, I think. That's my take on things. I could be wrong. What a mess. What a mess. Just tainting Stan's legacy potentially. But you know what? If she is entitled to this stuff, you know, she is his only heir. Hopefully that she gets what she's entitled to, and this quietly goes away. Moving on. Here's another piece of news from Dynamite. Pretty huge gets for Dynamite this year. Dynamite is launching a Thundercats comic. I think that there's a big fan base for Thundercats. May not be big enough for, like, you know, another TV show. Probably would be big enough to support a comic book if it's well executed. So Dynamite announced that they have obtained various Warner Brothers licenses and that they will launch a Thundercats comic written by Declan Shalvey. He's good. Illustrated by Drew Moss. Not super familiar with Drew Moss. This cover looks good. Oh, so yeah, let's go Thundercats. Let's see what they're going to do. President Nick Barucci has been very kind to me. He told me that he spent about 11 years negotiating with Warner Brothers for exactly how they would do all of this. That this has been a long time in the works to get these rights and to do it properly. But on top of Thundercats, got licenses to several other Warner Brothers properties. The Flintstones, that's a big one. The Powerpuff Girls, well known. Space Ghost, Johnny Quest. The Wizard of Oz, which, by the way, was the first crossover comic published by both Marvel and DC. They did an adaptation of the movie together. And one that I don't really know, I think it's on, like, you know, cable, and it was just past my time. We Bear Bears. I wouldn't be mad at a Thundercats Gargoyles crossover. I bet you could at least do that for a cover. Yep, Space Ghost. Cool job. Wish 2011 Thundercats got a final season. Yeah, I like the look of that. Wish we could see Ed McGuinness on Thundercats again. Hey, who knows what time could bring? Who knows? How does Warner not have DC making these comics? I don't know. Maybe that's why it took 11 years, you know? I don't know. I'm not privy to all the behind-the-scenes business ends of things. I think that most fans should be happy that these are coming out as comics. Space Ghost. I talked that right at the beginning of the show, Rob, but thank you. Yes. We Bear Bears is post-Adventure Time Cartoon Network property. Okay. And a couple folk, let's see. Wizard of Oz is a Warner license. Yep. Let's see. DC's The Flintstones was an incredible series. The first issue made me cry. Yes. So, speaking of Flintstones, it may be a possibility to get Mark Russell back on Flintstones. Mark Russell has written stuff for Dynamite. They have a good relationship. It's apparently all about the timing, making sure that Mark gets time. So I don't think that they're going to launch Flintstones imminently. I think that they will wait and see if they can get Mark Russell back on it, because that was an acclaimed take on the property. I'm sure they'd love to have him do some more of that. No, not drawn by Declan Shalvey. It's written by him. He did Old Dog recently, was one of the things he's written. Very well received. His Flintstones was phenomenal. LFG, Mark Russell, Steve Pugh, Flintstones Part 2. Yes, let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Sounds like there's some interest there in some of this stuff. Whoa. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Out of these, I would say most interested personally in Flintstones and Thundercats, but I am curious what the rights to Wizard of Oz entails, because if it entails other, story elements from some of the other books, that's a lot of material. Oz is a big world. We will see. DC announces the return of Elseworlds, and somehow my little bullet points got messed up here. Elseworlds. I mean, they've continued to tell out of continuity stories, but they haven't used the Elseworlds branding in a long time. I think Elseworlds is really good branding. So far, they've announced a bunch of ideas that are coming out soon. So let's see. We've got the brand coming back in 2024. Going to have a sequel to Gotham by Gaslight, but by a different creative team. Obviously, Mike Mignola drew the original. It's going to be called Gotham by Gaslight: The Kryptonian Age, written by Andy Diggle, art by Leandro Fernandez. It's a good team. We could see what that is. There's Batman the Barbarian, which you see here, by Greg Smallwood. Hell yes. Greg Smallwood, I am in. I am in. I wonder if the Oz license is based directly on the film, because the source books are public domain. Exactly. I think since they've got public domain stuff available. Black Label is still going to be used, just for a more sort of mature / Vertigo take on things. The Elseworlds return has me excited. The ones I'm looking forward to, the Batman book by Greg Smallwood that I just talked about, and another one that I'm not going to mention quite yet. Is Greg Smallwood related to Greg Smallman? No, and that was Ryan Smallman. My apologies, Ryan Smallman. Smallman. Jesus. Here's another one. Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. So another Dark Knights of Steel book. Jay Kristoff and Terso Cons is coming. We've got Green Lantern Dark by Tate Bromball and Werther Deladera. So we've got some of the people working on the things like, the Something is Killing the Children / House of Slaughter stories. That could be an interesting take. Green Lantern Dark. A horror take potentially on Green Lantern? All right. You've piqued my curiosity. We've got Batman Nightfire by Clay and Seth Mann. Great artist, Clay Mann. And DC versus Vampires World War V by Matthew Rosenberg and Otto Schmidt. Otto Schmidt is incredible. What a cool artist. World War V. I didn't really care too much about the DC versus Vampires limited series, but this one with art by Otto Schmidt, I am interested in. I am interested in. Let's talk about something I put in the header here. And I've pixelated this because it's so gross. But New York Comic Con got a big old dump on the convention floor this year. What an honor it was to go to such a prestigious event. Okay, so Friday this happened. A bunch of poop was found on the floor of the Comic-Con's autograph area, the one full of celebrities and lines to get pictures and autographs. Stinky. I'll get there. Don't get ahead of me, peg warmers. Nice to see you, though, buddy. Returning to the scene of the crime. Thank you. Very kind of you. So Bleeding Cool reported on it. Social media was a buzz. It featured, Reddit had some stories about it. I've taken some screenshots of the appropriate social media to relay this to you. So some photos showed folks walking through it. I have pixelated that because it was so disgusting. So I guess here, I'll just switch over to this. So first we've got, it's Eric Nagel saying, a Comic-Con first. Apparently the lines were so long in the autograph area, someone actually shit themselves. I heard some screams, and then the smell came around, walked over to see security blocking the area. I wish I saw it happen and what costume they were wearing. Okay, here's another one. This is from Norton Sinclair. I dared a man dressed as Sailor Moon to touch it, assuming it was a prop. He did. It was dog shit. So yes, to bring this all to a close, Galileo 908 posts, if that was in the autograph area, I can confirm that a dog did it. I saw them cleaning it up. A dog is a little more understandable than somebody that was just waiting in line to get, Susan Sarandon's autograph. Like, I can't not get a photo with the lady from Blue Beetle. I'll just deal with it. Oh, I didn't make it. Oh, it's everywhere. That's bad. It's a little less bad that a dog did it. However, a dog owner should probably have some hints that it's time to take the dog outside. And B, how do you just leave the scene of the crime there and not clean it up yourself? I mean, the sheer embarrassment. I would just grab the nearest person and be like, block this. Don't let anyone near it. No, they just sort of left the scene of the crime, let people walk through it. It is absolutely disgusting because it's not just the little folks. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. Terrible, terrible, terrible. The Phantom Pooper strikes again. I have seen people poop themselves on a public bus. I saw it on a New York City subway once. It was disgusting. It was one of the worst things I've seen in my life. Hopefully it happens sort of more towards the middle and not just in a line, but I don't know that part for sure. Yeah, dog owners should at least have some plastic baggies. How do you not? How do you not? There's going to be poop cosplay for the next convention. You're probably right. Someone should send it in to get graded. That's disgusting. The feces are free here at New York Comic Con. I didn't hear any comment, official or otherwise, from the convention, from Reed Pop, from the convention center. No. There are several dogs that are inside. You are allowed to have dogs for there are some blind people that will have them, and there are a few people that might have them as a guide dogs and therapy animals are legally allowed pretty much anywhere. But typically, you will have plastic bags and stuff to clean up the occasional accident like this. Let's just thank God that it wasn't on the main showroom floor where everything is carpeted. That would have been worse. This was on the concrete lower level. So maybe we should thank our lucky stars for that. Just gross. Just gross, though. Let's see. I missed something here. Glad I didn't know about this until after I left. I was in line for Michael, I assume that means Rooker, down there on the same day, on Friday. Yeah. By the way, I'm sure it was just a service animal. But thank you, Daryl. Yes, I start the show with comic pop. The middle of the show is about comic poop. And the end of the show is comic plops, because I'm going to plop down some comics. Anyway, we could do jokes and puns about this all night. It was definitely dramatic. I also heard from an online friend of mine that I got to see there, Spencer Clausen. Lovely guy, really fun artist, and just a nice guy. Yes, I'm going to change the name of my channel to Poop and Cons. Spencer said that he came across like that on Friday, and then on Saturday morning, he was coming in, and he saw somebody pale as a sheet, laying down on the floor, being helped by EMTs, foaming at the mouth. And he says that the EMT was looking at him and going like this. And he was terrified about what that meant. I have not heard about anybody dying at the convention, but I have to assume that somebody had something a seizure or something like that. I hope that they're okay. We'll see. Dramatic Comic-Con. If you'd like, when I wrap up a few more news pieces, if you'd like, I do have photos and stuff that I took at the convention. I'd be happy to show it, but let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. This was huge news at the convention, in my opinion. Kid Cudi had quite a convention because there was a pavilion dedicated to his collaboration on clothing with the Star Trek brand. I love Kid Cudi. I like his music. I like him as an actor. I like him doing comedy. He was the band host on Comedy Bang Bang for a season. He was really funny in that. I thought he was really good in the movie X that came out last year. That was a horror movie. He was really good in that. And he's always been known as a comic book fan. Let me point that out. His first album, his first mainstream big drop album was Man on the Moon, where he hired Bill Sienkiewicz to do the art for the album cover. So I think that shows that he likes comics. You've never heard of him? He's known as Scott Mescudi as an actor and stuff like that, but his rap name is Kid Cudi. I like him. I think he's really cool. I really love Kid Cudi. Definitely going to pick this up when it releases. So yeah, he announced a comic, and this is something I have known about for a little while, but I keep that stuff quiet. I'll explain more about that after I tell you what the news is. Okay, a few of you guys don't know him. Yeah, he's in Bill and Ted Face the Music. He is doing this with Kyle Higgins, Radiant Black in the Massive Universe. So yes, Kid Cudi was there at New York Comic Con, and he announced his new comic, Moon Man, is going to come out January 31st of next year through Image, and published through the imprint of Black Market Narrative, the people that do the Massive Verse. You know, everything from No One to Radiant Black, Rogue Sun, etc. Co-written by Kyle Higgins, Radiant Black. That's how I knew about it, but I don't blab stuff like that when people tell me in confidence, and it's not my place to betray a friendship just to get some news. Art by Marco Locati and Igor Monti. They look really talented. They really do. Also some amazing variant covers coming out for this. The overall story, just to give you the gist of it, it's about an artist named Ramon Townsend. He becomes a celebrity after saving his crew from a near disastrous moon mission. He's like a pilot. He saves the day, comes home, Earth loves him. But during that, there were certain moments that nobody on the flight can really remember or account for. It wasn't captured by cameras anyway. That's what's more important, is it wasn't captured by cameras. And those certain moments are going to change Ramon into something the world has never seen before. So I think it goes very sci-fi direction, set in sort of more of a near future or something. I don't know that for a fact, but yeah, that's fair. It's not a Massive Verse book. It's not set within Radiant Black's continuity, its own thing, but it's by some of the same folks. So I don't know. It looked good to me. The art looks good. I think Kid Cudi is a talented guy, multiple talents. You know, he's a guy that I think can do just about anything. Here's what's a little shitty. Okay, this was going to be a big reveal at Comic-Con. There's a panel for it where Kid Cudi was going to be out there, and announce this. That was going to be Saturday night. It was a big deal. You had to get special wristbands to attend this one instead of just sort of lining up. Not that you paid for them. It was just that they wanted to make sure that the crowds were under control and everything. So it's all there. It's set up as a big reveal for the Comic-Con. For instance, while I knew it, I kept my mouth shut. Guess who spoiled it before? The day before, the website Popverse spoiled it. And if you don't know, Popverse is just the website arm of the Read conventions. So this was the convention spoiling their own surprise. And I'd almost understand if it came out from a website like CBR or Bleeding Cool, whose job is to do nothing but news on comic books. But when your job is more to promote the conventions in a way, I feel that that's a real betrayal of the creators and does not give me a whole lot of confidence in them as a website anymore, in terms of how they treat their own creators that are paying for booth space. I didn't like that. I didn't think that was a cool move. Kyle said that he asked Popverse to take that down so that it could be more of a proper surprise at the announcement, and they said no. I don't know why they would do that. I don't think that they would do that to somebody like, say, Todd McFarlane, but who knows? I don't think that's great. Let's see. After Gerard Way, I don't remember a famous musician being good as a comic book writer. Well, again, I think that Kid Cudi has shown that he is more than just a musician, even though that's primarily what he's known for. I think he's a good actor and a very funny comedian as well. Yeah, they said no. Scott Ian is from Anthrax. He did some Lobo comics. I'm sure there's some other musicians that have done good comics. Let me think. It's not coming to me. There's been comics based on musicians. Have other musicians done a good comic? I'd have to think about it. There's no guarantee that they would be good writers. No. But, he's the one sort of coming up with the premise, and Kyle Higgins is a pretty, well-established writer at this point. He's been working in comics for over 10 years. Brian Posehn is a stand-up comic, and he's done some good comics like, Deadpool and stuff like that. Tom Morello did something with Image. Danzig wrote some interesting comics. Yeah, Verotic, right? Verotic. One of the Pet Shop Boys. Yes. I'm forgetting his name now because it's just been so long. But one of the two guys from Pet Shop Boys was an editor at Marvel UK before he founded the Pet Shop Boys. So that's really cool. Yeah, Z2 does collabs with bands, sort of adapting ideas or history on the bands. So, yeah. He's matched with a good writer. Thank you. Yes, Neil Tennant. Thank you. Alice Cooper, Coheed and Cambria. Yeah. Them saying no is bad business for the convention. People may not want to be part of their cons if they get that type of treatment. Exactly. Like, imagine paying to go to a convention, like to get some booth space and stuff like that. You have a big announcement to reveal there, and you're trying to time it and control that news coming out. And then your own convention is trying to scoop you on that. Like, why be adversarial like that? I don't understand why you would try to do that. I just don't. I don't think it's cool, but anyway, Kyle did a great job at the convention, by the way. He had a bunch of great writers and artists, all at his booths, for Black Market Narrative. The Massiveverse folks were all there. Right. Black Eyed Peas Taboo did a Spider-Man comic. I think you're right. Kiss authorized the comic. I don't think they worked on it. But oh my God, I don't think Kyle would care if I tell this. He wanted a bunch of his comics to be at his booth, right? So he asked Diamond Distribution to mail them. I don't know if it was to his hotel or to the convention center, but he had them ship stuff. I mean, that's what they do, right? They ship tons of comics. They sent it to the wrong distribution center. I think he finally got them on Sunday. How frustrating would that be to not have thousands of comics to sell and promote yourself? That's why you're there. Anyway, but he was nice to me. Kyle was. I think he's a great guy. I really do. Let's move on. But this is a book that I'm sincerely looking forward to. There's a few preview pages that are up there now. I mean, it's being covered by Entertainment Weekly. Popverse felt it was big enough to scoop someone. Yeah, it could potentially be really, really, really cool. This is big news too. Now, Peach Momoko's line was much more under control this year. You had to get a ticket beforehand. But she was still doing so many signatures and remarks. Peach is huge. Peach sells comics. Well, Peach is not only going to do covers, but she's going to do a lot for the new Ultimate Universe. Let's talk about that. She's going to write and draw a completely new take on where mutants come from in the Ultimate Universe. This is going to start with Ultimate X-Men issue 1, March 6th of 2024. She's going to write and draw it. And she's hinted that it could have more than just people born with it through science. There could be something supernatural wrapped in. She said that Armor is going to be a main character. Hey, Japanese character on the X-Men team, believe was created by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, if I'm remembering right. But that's a good take. Yeah, let's get a lesser used character that we can use as a viewpoint character. Armor is a younger character. That would be like using, Kitty Pryde or Jubilee or something. That makes sense. So here's the overall sort of premise as Marvel describes it. In Japan, when a young student named Hisako Ichiki develops armor powers, she discovers she's a mutant, and she's not the only one. Meet a new generation of mutants filled with original and familiar X-Men characters. Together, they'll learn what it means to be a mutant in the Ultimate Universe as they explore their emerging powers and the startling ways they connect to folklore, legend, and magic. Sounds to me like Peach may be wrapping in some of those Japanese ideas she used in her Demon Days storylines, where you've got various yokai and oni and things like that. Hey, we've got enough X-Men books in the main continuity. If you want to do something new in the Ultimate Universe, I'm all for it. Let's go. Good luck. I'm sure it will sell well. People love Peach, and she seems to be a really sweet person, very giving of her time. Yeah. I don't care about the Ultimate Universe at all, but Peach being in total control of this from a creator side is highly appealing to me. I agree. Marvel, this is what you should do, I think, with the Ultimate Universe. Not to say it's always going to pay off, but handing like the creative reins over and saying like, do what you want with our playground. Play in our playground. Do what you want. That could be really interesting. Love Japanese folklore. This will not be based in any way on the old Ultimate Universe. That did end. This is a new universe. This is a new take on all the characters. It may be familiar or it may be very different, but it's using the characters in a new universe, a new continuity. X-Men could go very weird. I'm here for Oni Apocalypse. That could be interesting. Yes, it like it says, it's going to have some original mutants and a few well-known ones reimagined. So I can't believe Marvel is giving someone full control of a book. They're giving all the creators of the Ultimate Universe full control of their books. That is what Marvel did with the original Marvel Universe with Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Miller. They were allowed to go nuts. And this is not the only Ultimate book that was announced. Let's talk about some of the other new things that Marvel is going to release, trying to get new readers on board and hopefully interest some of us existing readers with the creative teams, I think. So here are the covers for 3 other Ultimate books. There will be 4 in total. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man starting January 10th with the creative team of Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto. Is this Peter Parker? Is this Miles Morales? Is this somebody totally new? We don't know anything about that. We have no idea what this one will be. We see that it looks like Spider-Man, and that's fine. Could be something totally different. Could just be updating things for the modern day in terms of just the science and the supporting characters and stuff. The original Ultimate Universe ended... Where did it originally end? It was after Ultimate... where was it ended? It's not coming to me right now. Somebody will have to Google it. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it did sort of wrap up, basically. And then they sort of like hinted that a version of it could still be out there. Here's where it definitely ended for absolute sure, was Secret Wars. Secret Wars had all the universes collapsing. They were having incursions and stuff. They definitely destroyed the Ultimate Universe there. And I think the only 2 survivors of it, if I'm remembering correctly, are Miles Morales and that version of Reed Richards, who did become evil and is now known as the Maker. And the Maker, if you read Ultimate Invasion, basically created a new universe. But then that, in turn, also got slightly remade. So we don't know everything about it. There was that 4-issue series, Ultimate Invasion, where he tried to start a universe where he had total control over everything. By the end of it, he was like sort of beaten by Howard Stark. But Howard Stark did die. It's interesting. Anyway, okay, so we've got Ultimate Spider-Man. You have to have Spider-Man, right? You have to. I didn't think they'd have Black Panther, but look, they've got February 7th. Bryan Hill, who currently is writing Blade, but has also written a bunch of TV. He wrote the Titans show, for instance. So he's done both comics and TV. Bryan Edward Hill, talented writer, and artist Stefano Caselli, top-tier artist. They're going to launch Ultimate Black Panther, where Black Panther has to defend Wakanda, as well as all of Africa, apparently, from the Egyptian gods of Khonshu and Ra. So it sounds like Moon Knight may play a role, potentially, in Black Panther. But he's going up against some serious threats. But what will this version of Wakanda look like? Do they still, have advanced technology? Do they still have vibranium? I don't know. Is Black Panther still a king? I hope so. I think that that's an interesting part of him. But we've got our Black Panther, so it could go in a totally new direction. A fresh new Black Panther to follow could be pretty cool. The movie was pretty popular. It was. I heard that this Spider-Man is closer to Peter B. Parker. I didn't hear anything, so, who knows? Maybe. Yeah, he did that book, Postal. That's right. Ultimate Paste Pot Pete becomes Herald of Galactus. We'll see. But Marvel, if you need an Ultimate Paste Pot Pete story, I'm your man. Maybe there will be another Clone Saga. I don't know. And finally, we'll have something like, I think it's called Ultimate Comics. It'll be just like sort of a one-shot, and eventually we're going to get an Avengers team. Ultimate Universe #1 is going to be by Jonathan Hickman and Stefano Caselli. It's going to feature Iron Lad, which is in this version Tony Stark. But if you know your mainstream comics history, Iron Lad is the young version of Kang the Conqueror. That's just mainstream continuity, though, so who knows? But Iron Lad, Tony Stark, is going to assemble the team formed by Captain America, Thor, Sif, and Doctor Doom. And in the Ultimate Universe, Doctor Doom is that version's Reed Richards, who was forced to wear that armor and was the slave to Maker because he sort of hated his own self. Clickbait. You and a Devise sketch, Dark Hawk. Clickbait. You and a Devise sketch. What's a Devise sketch? I'm trying to understand you because I appreciate the super chat. I will try to draw in a little bit. Hell with it. This is going to be a longer show than usual. This is going to be we're going to keep going because I've got some comics to talk about, and I'll draw and talk about everything. We'll just keep going. There's a lot still to go in terms of recapping the convention on top of this news. Robert Kirkman had an Invincible panel. He had a little bit of season 3 news for Invincible. If he wants a Darkhawk sketch, I'm not able to do that on the spot because I don't know that outfit off the top of my head. I'd really have to look at some reference. Sorry. A decisive sketch. All right. Well, let's go. Let's talk about this bit. Let's see. So, he had an Invincible panel. He said that the animated adaptation, season 2, comes out November. They did release a trailer for it. I thought it looked pretty action-packed. And he also mentioned some stuff about the next season. So, here's a quote from Bobby Kirks himself, as I call him, Bobby Kirks. He'd punch me if he heard me say that, but that's okay. Finishing touches on the last few bits of season 2 are being done right now. Season 3 is very far along. When I talk about the actors that we have for season 2, it is a minefield. There's so many in season 3 that we have to talk about. If you think the cast expanded for season 2, just wait until you hear about who we're getting in the show in season 3. By the way, we don't know yet. He's just teasing it. That might give you an indication as to how far we're going. Is in like they're already casting there. There's just so much big stuff planned. it's possible that there may be some more Walking Dead alums that may be popping into Invincible at some point. He's been doing that a bunch. I cannot wait. Yeah, that could be fun actually, to do a show where people just request me to draw things and I just do my best with like how I remember. Voice to text is bad still. F, even in the future, nothing works. And Darkhawk, because it's the only thing. Nobody's remotely remembers this guy. Kyle Higgins did an interesting new version of Darkhawk a couple years ago. Anyway, I closed my eyes and thought Booby Kirks just popped into the stream just then. No, it's me, Bob Kirkman. He does not call himself that. DC is going to publish an alternate Death in the Family issue. This is going back to some classic 1980s Batman comics. DC has said that they're going to release a new edition of Batman number 428. That was the issue in which Jason Todd was brutally killed by the Joker, as voted on fans at the time. They had a 1-900 number we could call, and the kill him off just barely edged out the let him live. But they didn't know which way it would vote, and so they had to be prepared either way. So the issue is going to be a faux facsimile edition. It can't truly be a facsimile edition since they didn't print the version where he lived, but it's going to look like that, with unseen material by the original A Death in the Family creative team of Jim Starlin, the writer, Jim Aparo, the artist, loved him, Adrienne Roy, Mike DiCarlo, and John Costanza. Those were the letters, colorists, editors on the book. So this is set for December 12th. It is not it's just an alternate take on the material to let us see what it looked like. It is not a retcon or anything. It's just for fun. But my guess, I went back and reread issue 428. I think this could have as few as only 4 different pages, to be clear. There were only 4 I saw that like are definitively talking about or showing a dead Jason Todd as compared to the rest of the plot with like Batman and Superman and Joker and stuff. So that's my best guess, is it might have 4 different pages. Could be more, could be less. I don't know, but it's going to be a different one. If they print it in newsprint, count me in. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I love Jim Aparo's Batman. I'll probably pick it up just out of curiosity. I've seen at least 2 different pages. The one that I'm showing here where Batman looks all happy. He's got like a blown to hell Robin. And he's like, he's alive. But we will see. We will see. No, they definitely didn't like write 22 different pages, you know, for Jim Aparo to draw in 1 month. They kept it monthly back then. I think that there might be 4 pages is my best guess, but we'll see. That's my guess. That's what I'm putting in. Final answer. Let's see what happens in December when it comes out. See if I'm right. There's going to be a new Constantine book through DC's Black Label. So yes, while they're bringing back the Elseworlds brand, they are keeping Black Label. That's for slightly more mature things. Constantine Hellblazer. So in this January, writer Simon Spurrier, artist Aaron Campbell. Well, they did John Constantine Hellblazer book from 2019 through 2021. It was well received. They're going to return in January with a continuation of that story through DC's Black Label. Here's the premise. John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America, that's the whole title, has this logline. John has cheated death once again, but his heart's not beating. His body is decaying, and he, his friend Nat, and his son Noah are on the run in America, wanted for murder. Naturally, it's all John's fault. It always is. But as it turns out, Dream himself, yes, we're talking about Sandman, Dream himself needs John's help. Something terrible has taken root in America, and it's using the sand from Dream's pouch to impose its will. If John can put a stop to it, he may be able to parlay that favor into a chance to save all their lives. But he's going to need help from someone he hasn't spoken to in years, someone he wasn't always all that kind to, someone or something. Yes, it looks like we're going to have both Swamp Thing and Dream, Sandman, Morpheus in a Hellblazer story. an adult one. I can't wait. Oh, Izzy. I got to meet Izzy Verse in New York, and Izzy says he heard that they may bring back Vertigo. It's a good brand. To me, it wouldn't be that important if they brought back Vertigo. I think what made Vertigo were the editors on it. Oh, I'm blanking on names. Who was the amazing lady that was the main editor of these books? She had a vision. She had an eye for talent. Oh, she was so good. I mean, assistant was Shelley Bond, who's also an incredible editor. One of you will remember for me or look it up. All of a sudden, I'm blanking. Karen Berger, thank you. It was Karen Berger. To me, Vertigo was not just a label with good quality. It was Karen Berger. It was Karen Berger. Yeah, Karen Berger made the show. And she wasn't with Vertigo to the very end, but trust me, she established what Vertigo was, hired the right talent. You know, she was giving Neil Gaiman and Sam Keith and guys like that their first opportunity. She was really incredible. I mean, is really incredible, but I'm saying what she made with Vertigo was incredible. So if they're going to bring back Vertigo, hey, bring back Karen Berger. Yeah, she's got an imprint at Dark Horse now. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so bad at names. Thanks, Izzy. Here was another piece of big news. Rick Remender has inked exclusive deals with a murderer's row of artists. That means that they get paid something to be exclusive, and they are only going to work on Rick's imprint Giant Generator for a period of time. So, yeah, Giant Generator signed several artists, and that include. Oh, yeah, this was a nice quote by Rick. Actually, Rick said that why he's doing this is he's happy to help artists follow their bliss and to create original, evergreen stories that stand out. Good luck with that. I think if anybody can, Rick has an eye to that. So I want him to succeed. Listen to some of these artists that they signed. Daniel Acuna, Andre Liming Arojo, Paul Azaceta, Bengal, Roland Bashi, Max Fiumara, Mike Hawthorne, J.G. Jones, Francesco Mobili, Brett Parson, Yannick Paquette, Greg Tuccini. I'm sure you know at least some of those artists. Wow. Wow. And you've got a great point, Owen. These are people trying to lock down some of the top talent with exclusives. Good for the artists if you can get like signed to an exclusive. Yeah, J.G. Jones is a big get. Like a lot of these. Bengal, J.G. Jones goated. Yeah. The incentive at Vertigo in the past was that they did have partial ownership of new things that they created, as well as, you know, great page rates and stuff. So, and also nice, what do you call them? Royalties. That was the incentive with Vertigo over owning everything at that said. I love the Image deal. I think it's great. Yeah, Bengal is a good get. Tocini has such a beautiful style. Rick Remender is a modern day Terry Austin. He's got an eye for talent, I'll tell you that. He really does. Bengal alone would be huge. J.G. Jones, yes. Sacrificers is looking like a book we talk about in 10 years. I think it's got a lot of potential. I'm enjoying it. Daniel Acuna, yeah, he's done like, you know, Avengers books at Marvel. Yannick Paquette has done big books. Can't wait for the Black Label. Sounds like it's going to be a good year for comics coming up. There's a lot of talent out there that seem to have projects. I subscribed. I'll be around the very popular place. Yes, that's me. I'm a popular place, but I'm happy. Got to bump into Rick briefly. We talk online. He's a great guy, and kudos to him for creating an imprint that can, you know, sign some of these guys. That's great. I'm very much looking forward to it. There were some books announced that will be coming through Giant Generator. Grommets by Rick Remender, Bryan Posehn. Those guys go back a ways. They know each other very well. They're buddies. I love Bryan Posehn, both his stand-up comedy and some of the comics that he's written. And Brett Parson is an artist. There's going to be Napalm Lullaby, which I used here, by Rick Remender and Bengal. I think you guys will like that just for the art. And another one announced was Dust to Dust by J.G. Jones and Phil Bram. So some great books coming out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Way to go, Rick. I will try, folks, to have... You've seen, I've had Kyle and Sal on recently. I think I should be able to have like little 10 or 15-minute interviews with people here and there on the show. Rick and Daniel Warren Johnson are two that I'm talking to that think that they'd like to jump on sometime. So let's see what happens. Here's some classic talent that I'd never thought of working on this kind of a book, but it makes sense. Matt Wagner, Kelly Jones, they're going to make a new Dracula book. Yeah. They're going to crowdfund a graphic novel trilogy exploring the lore of the Vampire King, Dracula. Matt Wagner, you guys know him from Grendel and Mage and all sorts of stuff he's written for, the big two. Kelly Jones, who doesn't remember his Batman? All sorts of dark black inks and pulsating abs and ribs and just a great dark style. Really makes sense to see them together on Dracula. So the book is going to be 112 pages, each of these three books, 112-page Gothic style epics. The first one here, we see the cover is titled Dracula Book 1, The Impaler. By the way, colors by Jose Villarrubia. One of the best. One of the absolute best. One of the best. And Wagner told this to The Hollywood Reporter, of all places. This is very much a horror story with deep roots in Bram Stoker's novel, but this isn't yet another retelling of the novel in comics form. We're bringing you the never-before-told stories behind the story, the sinister tales hidden in the shadows of the original novel. For instance, this first one is going to be all about Vlad's rise to power and becoming Dracula, I guess. And then we'll see what the next two are. But I think Kelly Jones on Dracula sounds like a great idea. I think that that's a character very well suited to his art style. If you don't know Kelly Jones, please do yourself a favor and Google it. This is a good fit. Any chance they'll bring back the Rick Veitch Swamp Thing books back to print? I hope so. Sean, that is way too slow. Thank you for pitching in. But yes, I was talking about Karen Berger. She's incredible. I got to keep an eye on this one too. It's on Kickstarter, folks. So feel free to Google, Dracula, Matt Wagner, Kelly Jones, any of those. You should be able to find it. Again, it hasn't gone live quite yet, but you might want to get notified. Sounds like it's got a lot of potential. Big book. Big long book. 112 pages. Yeah. I'll read. I'll sit down and F with a Dracula book that's 112 pages by Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones. Yes, Karen Berger. Yes. Anyway. I've got one more thing. How about some photos of the event of New York Comic Con? How about it? Give me a sec here. Gonna remove that. Hi. Oh, hi. You caught me talking in the middle of a show. We're gonna take a look at some pictures that I have from the event. Where can I find present? Share screen. This one? Yeah, this one. Can you guys see that? Is that? Yeah. I'll just scroll through them as fast as I can, okay? That sound like an okay way to do things? And we'll just try to enjoy a little bit of what I saw. So before even coming in, see a nice Ghostbusters mobile. I like this Doctor Strange. Look, he's got this like little spinner thing that would like in person you could see the spells highlighted on it. That was nice. That was well done. There's a Samus Aran. There's a Ghost Rider that looks almost like a zombie. Look at that blue flames, skeletal innards. Well done. little video of just the crowd. Who cares? That's us just filtering up the stairs. We're not quite into the event yet. Here's it. Do you feel like you're there? It's the busiest day, Saturday. First thing in the morning, just as it's opening. Thank you. We're all going to go in. And, of course, at the comics convention, there's Nickelodeon and Paramount and International House of Pancakes. What else would you want? Just seeing some of the cosplay people as we walk through. That's cool. Cosplay everywhere when you go into these things. Oh, here's me. And somebody waves here right now. Yes, making my way to the main floor. Yes, Sanjiro. Oh yeah, there was a lot of manga and anime represented. I'll say that for sure. Not a lot of publishers per se, but a lot of manga and anime. That was fun for me. Because I like all of it. The Gundam base. Lots of Bandai stuff, lots of Tamashii Nations figures. Okay, here's another entrance to New York Comic Con. And just the crowd. And this isn't even on the show floor. This is in the lobby to get in. I didn't stop here, but look, it's a bunch of Gashapon. That's me. The interactive manga experience. I think I saw that. Let's keep going with my photos. See if you can spot the pooper. Keep looking. It's like, where's Waldo? What else? Does this pop out at all? I think we got the Snake Eyes there, and a couple different versions of Spider-Man. Down there's the autograph area, I think. Wait, I think I talked about it. All right, this isn't that interesting. Let's see. Okay, some people on the escalator. Don't know why I snapped that one. Here I go. Behind me is the now infamous autographs and photo ops area. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Their dog take a big crap right on the showroom floor on Friday. Pretty awesome. There's a Mandalorian. There were plenty of those. I'll have to ask him. Is Giant Generator a reference to the fact that he was an animator before he did comics? It might have been, because he did work on Iron Giant. That might be. I'll have to ask him. Just a view. When you go to the annex, they had like panels, for instance, up on the 4th floor. It gave you a pretty good look at the entrance area to get into, get through screening and everything. Just tons of people. Little rainy. I saw a Cobra Commander cosplay first thing in the morning. Props to that. Why am I in 2 places at the same time? I can just do anything. All right. See ya, Owens Reviews. I'm going to draw and show some comics in a minute. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, yeah. I went to the Energon Universe panel. We talked about that. I got to meet Ryan, one of the hosts of the Invincible podcast. Victor writes all sorts of great articles about comics and comics history. There's the panel for the Energon Universe. From left to right, we've got Robert Kirkman, Senior VP, Sean Makowitz, Senior VP at Skybound. We've got Daniel Warren Johnson. Got artist Tom Riley, writer Joshua Williamson, and finally artist Lorenzo De Felici. And there's a close-up on Kirkman through Tom Riley. Just some of the stuff that we saw, they were showing us some hints at what's coming up in Transformers and G.I. Joe, including there's Duke battling Starscream. Some pages of Duke and like what he is going through after encountering something like a Transformer. I already showed you some of this, like the new teams for things like G.I. Joe and for Cobra. Void Rivals having the Quintessons coming up in issue 5. That could be fun. Quintesson Judge, I should specifically, because there's a couple different types of Quintessons, including the Bailiff and stuff that we've seen. There's a cover for issue 7 of Void Rivals. That's the new big enemy Kirkman said Lorenzo De Felici designed. I will say that's a pretty cool looking bad guy. I like it. There I am briefly meeting Dan. Very unflattering shot of me. The camera was really low. I got Dan some screen tones and some pens when I was in Japan, and I was handing it to him and documenting I did it. He was super sweet about it. I got to talk to Robert for a little bit, catch up. We've known each other since maybe 99, I think. So, long time. And I got to bump into Corey Walker. Doesn't do tons of comics, but, of course, original Invincible artist. Did Super Patriot, 2 of those miniseries with Robert. Science Dog. And these days, he's a producer of the Invincible cartoon. He does the character designs for all the characters. Corey went to animation school. This is a perfect fit for him. He's in the right place. This is really great. I love Corey. I've known Corey for a long time. It was great to see him in person. Don't get to see him a lot. I bumped into Rick Remender. Had Rick giggling. Corey hasn't changed a lot, but he's let his hair grow kind of long. EJ. I miss these guys. I wish I had more time to talk to them. Good friends. Some more just, show floor nonsense, just getting a sense of the scale. And this is just in the first few hours. Shueisha had a booth. Huge publisher in Japan of manga. Shueisha. Oh my God, did they have these blind boxes everywhere? I think that they're such a bad deal personally. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think, they sell for $60 and I think they have arguably $40 to $45 worth of merch in them. I think they're such a bad deal. Oh, Esad Ribic was on the main floor just painting. He was painting a beautiful Thor. He didn't have like his own booth. He was at like some sort of booth that was selling original art and he was just hanging out painting. Yeah, Baroness on the G.I. Joe team. Pretty interesting, huh? Rick is killing it. I totally agree. Totally agree. Mystery boxes are hilarious. It's gambling at the end of the day. Boy, I'll say. Saw the Invincible team at the Paley Center event. Oh, nice. That sounds fun. If blind boxes weren't a bad deal, then they wouldn't turn a profit. They only exist by ripping you off. So I was there, just to be clear, with my best friend from college, Evan, his fiance, Evan's daughter, who's 12, and she really wanted a Hello Kitty blind box, and she, did not beg, she did not cry or whine or act bad in any way, but she really wanted one. And I kept talking to her throughout the convention, going, Summer, it's not a good deal. It's not a good deal. You don't really want it. And she was like, I really think I do. I love Hello Kitty. I love the mystery. And I was like, I eventually gave in. I've known her for her whole life, and I'm a sucker. I did get her it. Ultimately, she absolutely loved it, so I guess that's all that matters, right? It made her very, very, very happy. She opened it up during dinner and was like super psyched about all the stuff inside. So I guess it's worth it. I wouldn't have bought one for myself. By the way, I'm at the blind box table, and the lady there sees that I'm wearing a Godzilla shirt, and she's like, oh, good news. We have a Toho surprise box. So, you can get that, and it'll have stuff that you like in it. And I'm like, no, thanks. Just that Hello Kitty box, please. She's like, are you sure? You're really going to love it. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm feeling dumb enough about giving you $60 for this one. Let's just get this done. What did she get? They had a big Hello Kitty plush inside, which I will admit looked very nice and well made. There was a Hello Kitty branded license plate holder that she instantly was like, oh, I'm going to make my own like vanity license plate with my name and hang it up on my door. And I was like, okay, that excites you. Some stationery stuff, I think, was in there, and a humongous Hello Kitty fleece blanket. She seemed happy. She was very salesy, and I'm like, fine, that's your job, but seriously, like, I do not want one of these for myself. Could you just please sell me this thing that I feel stupid enough getting? Oh, she really came at me with confidence that she was about to make that sale. I was like, that's okay. Okay, I saw, oh, there I am. I got to meet Joshua Williamson and talk to him a little bit about the upcoming G.I. Joe comics. I told him that I really enjoyed Dark Ride. You guys have heard me talk that one up. So tomorrow I'm going to be on the channel Hooded Cobra Commander 788, and I'll talk a little bit more about the G.I. Joe comic book news. I got to meet Ethan Parker. There's Sal from the beginning of the show. That was fun. There I am with Sal, Tiffany, and Jim Zub. Jim's always been so kind to me, and he is crushing it right now on Conan. If you're not reading that, trust me, it is fantastic. Somebody asked, did I get to see Jim? Jim is obviously in the chat room here a lot of the time, and he's probably recovering from the convention right now. He was hanging out a lot, but I did get to hang out with Jim, and that was a lot of fun. I think he's a great, great guy. They had this humongous Luffy Gear 5 inflatable. What else? There's just sort of a Chainsaw Man guy walking around. So much casual cosplay. Like this guy walking by is obviously some sort of cosplay. I don't know what. Maybe Resident Evil? I don't know. Auntie Entity. I did not expect to see cosplay of Auntie Entity from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but my God, was this lady crushing it or what? Like sometimes I'm just like, okay, that is such good cosplay. I just need to take a moment to acknowledge how good that is. Yes, Conan is so good right there. Jim is incredible. If you ever get a chance to say hello, do it. Yes, Auntie Entity. I mean, my God. Yeah, she's got the hairstyle, the jewelry. I mean, there's not. This is very detail-oriented. Very detail-oriented. I got a cosplay for JoJo's character. Good. That's awesome. That was Leon? Okay. Master Blaster runs Bartertown. Who ran Bartertown? Master Blaster. Convention did wear me down. 4 days is a lot, but it's one of the best, and I've been to all of them. Yeah, it is good. There's a reason I keep coming back to it. But it is pretty overwhelming. Anyway, I just like that cosplay a lot. Here's one. Look at all these Mandos. Look at all these Mandalorians. Very well done. Very, very nice. 5 of them in a row. I was impressed with these guys. These are not just, store-bought costume. There's a lot of layers of detail that these cosplayers put into their work. Good job. Apparently, there's a Death Note musical on Broadway right now. There are several musicals on Broadway I would have killed to have seen if I had more time in New York. I want to see Death Note. I want to see Hades Town. I want to see, there's one about, who's the guy that played Quint? Robert Shaw. Actor Robert Shaw. His son made a play about his time making Jaws, and that looked really good. Yeah, this one was just a table selling hot sauce. Comic-Con stuff. Okay. Let's see. I hope someone played a recorder when they came out for photos. When the Mandos came out. Yeah. Sorry I am late. I will watch the video on demand and add a like to the stream. Thank you. If you guys can just hit the like button, that helps the channel tremendously. Helps new people find it. I've got some more photos here, though, to look through. Let's take a look here. I got to meet and talk to Jim Shooter for quite a while. He was very interesting to talk to, guys. Yes, not everybody loved him, but he's done a lot of important and well-respected things that I appreciate in comics. Yeah, you didn't know that VOD stands for Video on Demand? That's what it stands for. Happy to help. There was a fudge seller there. I didn't take a picture this time, but there was a fudge seller. Jim told me a lot of interesting stories about like breaking in at age 16 and working under a pretty cruel editor, Mort Weisinger. Yeah, he was very approachable to me. He was very open, had a lot of photos of himself at like 16 in a suit and getting to meet Mort. Just amazing stuff. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, do you want to come back behind there and stand next to me for a photo?" And I go, "No, you would make me look like a little person. I will just lean in for a selfie if that's okay." He's very tall. He's very tall. What else did we see? A great Storm Shadow cosplay. Respect. It is crazy to me that you can go into the convention with all these arrows and swords. Seems a little crazy, but that's Comic-Con for you. Here's a Tanjiro as a panda, and Nezuko was with him. I thought that this was a pretty nice Spider-Man Venom team up. I love that Venom had all this texture to the symbiote suit. That's amazing. Nice Rocketeer outfit. Helmet, kind of big, but accurate. Looked good. I like the attention to all the details. Some Power Rangers at different sort of levels of costumes. For instance, on the far right, you may notice that the Yellow Ranger just has like sort of a kid's Halloween face mask, but that's okay. That's okay. Some upcoming NECA Ninja Turtles figures. I love Donatello, so I was like, okay, we've got like Astronaut Donnie. We've got Donnie swinging his bow staff. We've got Space Usagi stuff coming. Cool. Got Donatello as a punk rocker. Why not? Why not? Oh, there was so much One Piece cosplay at the convention. I think usually the cosplay I think I see the most, stuff like Joker, Catwoman, Poison Ivy. That I just see tons of it. This year, instead of just seeing regular Spider-Man, you'd see a lot of, Spider-Verse Spider-Man and just tons of One Piece cosplay. So many Luffys. And in this case, a lady version of Buggy. Like in one of my photos. You guys might know him from Walking Dead. Some more cosplay of One Piece. There's me about to get stepped on. That's okay. An idea of the scale of that. A nice Godzilla action figure by SH Figuarts. And a, person-sized version as well. I had to stand next to that. I love Godzilla. No, not a lot of Harleys or Deadpools this year, to be honest. Not a lot of the sort of old faithfuls. People were doing different stuff for sure. What else do we have here? Some tiny little figures that were all sort of cute chibi versions of all sorts of One Piece villains and allies. This was only a small portion of it. It was amazing. A really old, like vintage, I should say, Jet Convoy. That's like a future version of Optimus Prime from the version we saw here in America. But this was made down in Japan. Jet Convoy. It is big to match. They tried. There's a male and female Kraven the Hunters. That's cool. And some of the costumes from the upcoming Marvels movie, but I was most amused by Goose the Flurkin here. How much are tickets to NYCC? I think for Saturday, it's either 40 or 50. Might be more, I guess. I can't quite remember. I'm sorry. Yes, Demon Slayer Crocs are there. Less Deadpool costume means less people trying to ruin photos. I don't know, maybe. Didn't love Godzilla enough to buy the blind box, apparently. I did not. Let's see. Oh, here was this is a zombie shark that has eaten a bunch of divers and their feet have broken out. So now this shark runs around on the ground. If you don't recognize that, that is from Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Either take your pick, the manga, the anime, or the live action movie. Oh, is it 100 a day for NYCC? Sorry. Wow, 100. Yikes. A lot of people recognize Zom 100. I didn't see a lot of Doctor Who represented, no. Probably next year, though. Probably next year, I think we'll get a bunch. I really do. Oh, yeah, Marvel definitely was promoting the Spider-Man 2 video game everywhere. These are statues that you could pose with. I wasn't going to wait in line to do that. See these? These were at like an artist's booth. Try to guess how much one of these would cost. I'll give you a hint. These are original sculptures, one of a kind. It is not a mass-produced toy. Try to guess how much they were going for. I'll come back. But just keep that in mind. These sort of pudgy, cute Ninja Turtles. Oh my God. Super 7 makes cool-looking stuff, but it is way too expensive for me. 75, go up. 200, keep going up. How big are they? I would say maybe 10 inches tall. 120, 100, you guys are way too low. Way too low. 1,000 is a little too high, but you are closer. Daily tickets were 80 this year. Okay. Hey, Art of Saw got it. They were 600 a piece. Let me jump back to show you again. Hey, an artist can charge whatever they want to charge if that's like what it costs them for time and materials and the demand is there. But these were $600. A little too rich for my blood. A little too rich. I do think Super 7 makes cool looking stuff. This is a Cobra mothership. Basically the flying fortress that you see in the opening credits of G.I. Joe season 1 and 2, I want to say. And the Super 7 figures can fit in there, but it is also scaled to the vintage 3.75-inch O-ring figures from the 80s and 90s. And it comes with things like these trouble bubbles and things like that. It comes with parachutes for the men, all these play features. Here's like a little video of it. I love G.I. Joe. I'd love to get something like this. This was so much money, though. There's no way. There's no way. It's great detail and stuff. It does not come with all these figures. They're just doing that to make it like look interesting. These are the pieces of the ceiling that pop off so that you can have like access to these rooms. Folks, it's $500. I'm sorry, I'm not paying $500 for a toy playset at this age. They also make some Ronnie James Dio action figures. I got a kick out of that. Oh, I'm still holding the 600. Yeah. Yeah, Super 7 makes interesting takes on some of the G.I. Joe characters. Like they're the only ones who've made, for instance, Quinn from the comic books. Quinn the Eskimo Hunter. Great character that I've never seen represented at other places. But it's like very limited posability and stuff, and it costs a fortune. It costs a fortune. But here's some of their ultimate lines for G.I. Joe, which just has a lot more posing. But these figures are like $75 or something. Oh, 55. I swear I've seen 75, but maybe it's for stuff that's passed. I have all the G.I. Joe classified figures. That's something I collect. Shh, don't tell. We'll keep going. Show you some more stuff that was going on at Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. There was this huge Manga Plus interactive area by Shueisha where you could basically pose in front of standees and cutouts of some of their most popular stuff. One Piece. This was Ultraman. I just liked how that looked. Some Spy Family statues. I adore Spy Family. There I am meeting Nick Barucci, a lovely gentleman. It gave me the opportunity to draw the Vampirella exclusive cover. That was fun. Got some ideas for some stuff we might collaborate on in the future. I hope we do. Congrats, Nick, on all the different licenses and stuff. Thundercats, Garth Ennis on James Bond. Did a lot. Collecting figures? What a nerd. I know. What a nerd. But that was nice to meet Nick in person. I'm glad. There I am with my best friend's daughter, Summer, and she had just got the what do you call it? The Hello Kitty blind box. So she actually is happy there. We're hanging out with Kyle Higgins' Massiverse cutouts. There I am with Kyle. And look, we've got No One back here. We've got Rogue Sun, Dead Lucky, Radiant Black, Shift, Inferno Girl Red. Those are some really nice cutouts. What's this? Emperor's New Groove. That's some creative cosplay. I like that. Like, this is the stuff you see at Comic-Con. I could not capture all the cool cosplay that I went past. I'm really excited for the new Ultimate Spider-Man. Me too. Me too. Me too. I'm excited. What else did we see? Rob Liefeld was signing stuff. Cash only. Cash only. This is Nick Pitara. I'm glad I finally got to meet him in person. I did an interview with him on Comic Tropes. Really talented guy. Done a lot of great art. And his book, his crowdfunded book, Axe Wielder John. He finally had some copies at the Comic-Con. Those will be being shipped out. They're currently being shipped out to supporters like myself. He also has some cool little action figures based on them. Just a really great stuff. Rob's got to avoid those taxes. It was a little weird that he says cash only. A little weird. Rogue Sun's my favorite. I got to have an extensive conversation with Ryan Parrott at a bar Friday night and talked to him a lot about how I really love that he's using New Orleans as a setting. I lived there for a while. I think it's a really interesting city. But Nick is awesome. This is us trying to do our smoldering good looks. I don't know how successful we were. That's up to you. And I got to meet Spencer Clausen. Spencer has been a supporter of my show since probably before I ever had 500 subscribers on Comic Tropes, really early on. And if you don't know him, first of all, he is a talented artist who's still working on his work and improving, and that's awesome. Spencer was also the third runner-up on season 15, I want to say, of Big Brother. One of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. He was helping out at Nick Pitera's booth, and I'm so glad I got to meet him. I wish we had even more time to talk and chat, so hopefully at a future convention we can carve out some more time, but he's a really, really nice guy. Peach Momoko and her husband, just signing and doing remarks. The line was very manageable thanks to having the ticketing system. Very manageable. Did someone buy Rob's Captain America? That goes up for auction in November. Stay tuned. You're about to see it. I do have photos. But congrats to Peach for having so much success. Oh, there I am. I got to chat a little with Adam Hughes. I mean, come on. What an incredible artist. I couldn't exactly explain the pose that we're doing. I guess sultry. But he was really sweet. Weird angle I got on this one. Arthur Adams didn't have a huge line. That always stuns me when an artist as incredible as somebody like Art Adams doesn't have a big line. There he is drawing Wolverine. Looks gorgeous. Looks gorgeous. Mirka Andolfo was one of the first people to get signed to Distillery. She's got some stuff coming out soon. Bryan Hitch was there. Jason Fabach. Good cosplay here. Tiana and Dr. I can't remember from Princess and the Toad and Princess. What the Princess and the Frog? Jesus Christ! Did I break up any fights? Not this year. Not this year. Maybe next year. I don't know if Mark Miller was there. I didn't see him, but I don't know. That's a good question. Brian Stelfreeze, an artist's artist, folks. He is almost always literally painting vibrant colors. So true to life, so much detail. Dr. Facilier, thank you, Chichi. Brian Stelfreeze, just an incredible artist. Yes, Art Adams is an all-time great. I would also say Brian Stelfreeze is an all-time great. There were some Argentinian artists. I got to meet some nice Chilean artists. For instance, Geraldo Borges, currently drawing No One, but soon to draw Mad Cave Studios' Dick Tracy. Yes, Stelfreeze is just incredible. Just incredible. Nice to see so many of you saying nice things about Art Adams. That's really nice. Oh, I got to talk a little bit with Ryan Otley. Ryan's great. Can't quite tell us yet, or I can't share yet, what his next book is, but he's going back to creator-owned stuff. He had a fun time at Marvel on Hulk, but now he's going to do something creator-owned. I think that'll be big news. Tom King, I didn't really have time to talk to him. I really would like to talk to Tom sometime. Maybe I'll do an interview if he has time. Dan Slott had, for my money, the biggest line in Artist Alley because Peaches was managed. Dan's was humongous. And I just took a moment in between him signing. I go, Dan, give me the Spider-Man fingers. And he goes, huh? Why am I doing this? And I just go, it's what you always do in your photos. Thanks. He was totally confused. He doesn't know who I am. I had a lovely time talking extensively with Danny Earls here. Now, I've talked up Danny. He's done some covers for things like Batman and No One recently. And last week, or maybe it was the week before, he did the Alien Annual. Danny is from Ireland and was a professional footballer, played here in America for something like 12 years. Professional soccer player, guys. A peak athlete. Still, by the way, looks to be in incredible shape. You don't excel at one thing and then just never excel at something else. When you've got the discipline to become a professional athlete, and then you decide that what you want to do next is be a professional artist, you make it. And Danny is. And he's so humble. Sorry I'm late for the ultimate news from you. After what's happening with Zeb Wells, I really want to read a new Spider-Man with outside of canon. I can totally understand that. Totally understand that. Thank you. Oh, there were so many great artists in Artist Alley this year. Artist Alley really had a great lineup. Really did. There's a little bit more for me to show you from the convention. Oh, there I am with my friends. Here's a Cruella de Vil with a service dog, Dalmatian. I don't believe it was the one that pooped, so don't blame them. A Poison Ivy. The only Poison Ivy I saw, really, so I took a picture. With permission. Down here's Ahsoka. I was going up on escalator, but it looked really good. I was like, Ahsoka! And that was the best I could get. Here it is, folks. I got to see Rob Liefeld's original art for Captain America. I don't know. Maybe my head isn't the right place. Mine looks to be centered on my chest instead of coming out of my shoulder, but what do I know? There's the art up close, and you can see he sort of interpreted where the back and the butt go. And these are the pencil lines for the bicep. And where does the rest of the arm go? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There I am giving praise to this important piece of artwork. Hey, love it or not, it is well known. It's a piece of comics history. Just going through back issues and stuff. Lots of that there. Spider-Ham, that I thought was a pretty good mask. A Destro and Cobra Officer, good cosplay there. I am almost done. Oh, and going to the Energon panel, you'd get a Duke ash can with several of the pages in black and white. So that was kind of fun. I was just leaving for the day, and I saw that Vault had a table promoting Deathstalker as presented by Slash from Guns N' Roses. Did he write it or draw it? No, he's presenting it. I don't know what that means. Don't know what that means. Where Wolverine? Didn't expect that. He had a sound thing inside which would give a loud wolf roar. That was fun. And I'd left the convention here. This is in the background. If you're curious, this is the Javits Center, and there was Man-Thing in the rain. I thought that was very appropriate to get him in a wet environment. And there we are walking away. So that was what I got for photos and stuff. It's already been almost 3 hours. I can't draw Starscream tonight, but here's what I could do. No, you know what? It's been forever. I'll just tell you what I recommend out of what came out this week instead of like a full review. I'll just give recommend or don't recommend, okay? The week before, I've got so many comics to catch up on. Void Rivals, pretty fun. Pretty fun. An important Transformer shows up in this one, but mostly it moves forward the mythology of the main alien races. Transformers, folks, it came out. I hope you got it. It looks great. It gives us a lot more to go on with who Spike is and his father and Spike's girlfriend, Carly. It gives them some actual background in terms of what they want to do with their lives and who they are as people. They come across the Transformers who get reactivated by someone. I'm not going to spoil that. What I am going to show you, aside from all the people that get killed, are these 2 pages are blessed. So we've got Optimus Prime coming from behind and grabbing Starscream's arm, basically, and giving him a lariat. Specifically, it kind of looks like the Rainmaker, if you're into pro wrestling. And then he follows that up by grabbing Starscream around the chest and giving him a belly-to-back suplex. Hey, that's a different way of showing a fight scene. That's what's exciting. And you get, like, standard, like, kicks to the face and stuff that just look fun. That's a good sound effect for 2 robots hitting each other. Katang. And Optimus Prime just gets a few nice hero moments. There's one in particular I want to show when the Decepticons are attacking and Optimus is saving some people. That's a great hero moment, isn't it? Jumping through the flames, just running forward towards the camera. I think that looks great. And he also does a lot of panels of, like, them transforming, mid-transformation. It looks great. It gives us some character stuff. I do recommend that one. Issue 1 of Batman City of Madness by Christian Ward comes out, which essentially shows that the Court of Owls has been keeping an underground dark Gotham secret forever, but somebody breaks out, the Batman from below. And if you really look closely, that's basically a Cthulhu-esque dark Batman. That could be interesting. That could be a lot of fun to see. Whoa, thanks for the super chat, Rebellious Monkey. Will I ever do a Comic Tropes episode one day on Tim Vigil and the Faust comic, an X-rated version of Spawn? It's definitely possible. It's possible. We'll see. Ultimate Invasion is interesting. It sets up the new universe, but it is not required reading. I always talk up Danger Street. It takes like 16 very different DC properties, from like Darkseid to Warlord to the original Starman, Lady Cop, Dr. Fate, the Dingbats of Danger Street, the Green Team, just all sorts of crazy characters, the Outsiders, the original Outsiders, and it mixes them all up. Issue 10 of 12. I think for my pick of this week, I would go with Damn Them All, which is a supernatural story kind of along the lines of Constantine, John Constantine Hellblazer. But also up there, Superior Spider-Man Returns is really fun. It's a flashback to when Dr. Octopus was the Superior Spider-Man, and he was creating, a small sun, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand, that kind of thing. But he knows now that he's back to being in his Dr. Octopus body, that there's parts of that he doesn't remember. He just remembers that, like, he had completed his goal and he's trying to, like, go back and, like, find it. What he doesn't remember is that he had betrayed his lab assistant and turned her into, like, it turned her into that small sun, turned her into Supernova. But of course he was doing that back when he was in Spider-Man's guise. And so she emerges and she wants to kill Spider-Man. So Dr. Octopus is like, this is going better than I could have expected. So it's both the present day and the flashback. Folks, I did sketch out a Starscream that I was hoping to ink tonight, but I've run out of time. I really need to call it. I need to have some water. I need to eat. I need to use the bathroom. I'm sorry that I didn't have more time. I also was hoping to open some of these minifig blind boxes that have Marvel characters in them, but I'm sorry. I need to get going. This is 3 hours. I haven't read Monica, but I love Dan Clowes, so I did buy it. I will read that after tonight. I also need to work on comic tropes. Here's the good news, folks. Where's the next comic tropes? Well, I took a sponsorship deal, and they are basically demanding that I have it ready for them to approve on Thursday. So it should be approved in time for me to upload it this weekend. I am working on it hard. Okay. Yeah, there was a lot that I wanted to do tonight. I couldn't get to all of it, but I had fun. Thank you so much, Max Power. That's really appreciated. I sincerely appreciated that. I had a fun tonight. Thank you to Sal. Thank you to Nick Barucci. Thank you to all of you for both the super chats and for the interesting questions and comments. Keeps it interesting. Please remember to hit like and subscribe and keep your eye on comic tropes. I am hard at work on an episode that I'm very, very proud of. Okay, so that will be coming out soon. It has to, so that I can get my sponsorship money. I need to get paid. Take care, everybody. Keep reading comics. I'll end it with the devil's salute. You earned it. Bye, everyone.